of your bond. A power like light itself, unseen for generations. A dyad in the Force.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Dyad in the Force, episode 277, the one about prophecies and free will. And we're going to sort this out real quick. I'm just kidding. We'll be joined by, hopefully, at J Lagoon, so whenever they drop into the call, we'll put them in. But how's it going, Choco?
It's going, man. Man, I'm messed up.
What you talking about?
Leg day. Yesterday was supposed to be leg day. I woke up too late. I went ham in the gym on my hammies.
So you won't be we won't
dying.
be seeing you on the standing side of things today.
Yeah, probably not. It feels pretty nice to sit down right now.
Let's check on everybody on the monster side. We have Kenny saying, "What a crazy week." Demo saying he's here for the lore down. Phineas McCormick says, "Good evening." Jackson Download.
Hey!
Been a long time. Well, this looks like an amazing topic.
How you been, buddy?
It is an amazing topic. Spooky says, "Hello, friends. I'm not late this time. We appreciate you." Wichika J says, Dyad 5 standing by. Kenny says, "I just hope this doesn't get toxic. This is a big story problem and not really laid out for everyone." Well, it shouldn't. You know? Let's see here. 50 Thunder says, "Sup, good people." Lord Goop says, "Greetings, exalted ones." Nemo says, "X-Men 97 though." I don't know, man. I'm on the grind to catch up on all of the good comebacks. Let's see. We have Country Bumpkin. All right. Well, before we start, let's bring in J Lagoon because they're in right now. Hello, wall and chair. You are on.
Hello?
Dyad in the Force. How's it going, Jay? Can you hear me? Can you
Wait
hear
a minute. I can't hear you guys. Hold up.
Hey.
Hello?
Hello. Let me see if I can fix it.
Can you guys hear me? Hello? I can't hear you.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
What are we doing right now? What am I doing? Hold up.
Let's see here.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello. This sounds like
I'm
an
gonna
old
get
cell
it,
phone
guys. Hold on.
commercial. Can you hear me now?
I think I have to choose a couple of different options. Hold up. Video source.
Let's see here. Spooky says, "Looks like Chuds are about to eat
Nope.
shit again with the Odyssey." Most likely. They always eat shit. What are you talking about? That's their diet.
I'm excited for the Odyssey. I wasn't
What are we
excited
doing
before, but I don't know. There's like just a level of confidence that the filmmakers have in that project that I'm like, you know what? I need you. Also, if the haters hate it, I'm gonna have it. So there's that too. Also, did you see Lupita on the
I always see Lupita.
on the carpet?
You kidding me?
Woo!
All right.
Anyways, I'm not very tech savvy. You can't hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. And just so, I mean, he can't hear us, so it doesn't make sense for us to respond. Okay, here.
I mean, right, Nemo? Listen, like if you try to take Lupita away from me, I'm burning all the. I'm launching all the ships. That ain't even enough. And you know what?
Could be. Audio source is Yeti. Audio output source.
So if this is the problem, because like if your headphones are plugged into the Yeti, sometimes Yeti has an output device that's like Yeti and then Yeti chat or like Yeti mic.
Yeah. No, but the other thing I don't understand with the chuds in regards to that specific piece of casting is obviously the person who, I mean, if you take her and you launch that many ships, has to be someone who's irreplaceable, right? Like it can't, she can't just look like another woman there, like in the city. Like you can't find another, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just saying. Someone takes Hannah away from you, then you find Rebecca. She'll make you the same ham sandwich. You know, that's all I'm saying. Like you won't.
All right,
You
Buzz,
won't.
all I can hear is a humming sound. Are your headphones plugged into Yeti? Well, let's try that. I was actually plugged into the computer, but you could be onto something. No, now I hear myself.
Yeah, you should.
I hear you too. Okay, yeah, okay, good. Sorry about that. I'm not. Hey guys, I'm not tech savvy at all. My bad.
No, it's good. A lot of those USB mics, they come with headphone jacks so that you can monitor your voice, but then they also turn into a output device for the computer. So
great.
Awesome.
Sorry about that. Sound good on your end?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Nice to
Doing
meet
great.
you. You know,
Yeah,
I've
you guys as well.
you know, I haven't been making anywhere near as much content lately, and I haven't been like opening up TikTok at all. But I've been seeing, you know, some of your takes on the YouTube side, and I'm like, this guy's he's onto some stuff, you know.
Yeah. But we also disagree slightly, so we'll clarify it.
Oh, which is totally fine. You know,
Yeah.
disagreements are fine. I just appreciate when, you know, even when I disagree with someone, if I'm like, okay, but they still used logic to get here. They didn't just like regurgitate something weird or something random.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They
I get you.
didn't say free will doesn't exist with Anakin because Rey is a Mary Sue or something.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, how do I refer to you guys? I know it's Dyad, but should I refer to you separate, Element, and Choco?
Element and Choco, yeah.
Choco, yeah, okay.
Or
Okay, yeah.
Brandon, you know.
Okay,
And
I
Pat.
remember the one that's written there. But yeah, I know me and Element have been going. You know, we have been talking and inadvertently or indirectly. So I want to know, like, where are you sitting in the conversation, Choco?
So I mean, if we just want to jump directly into it, well, I'll say my piece, but why don't we start? Let's start with you just introducing yourself. You know, let us know, everyone in the chat know who you are, where they can find your content, and you know, we know you like Star Wars. Outside of Star Wars, what else are you into?
Yeah, hey guys. So my name's Jay Lagoon. My name's Jordan. I live in Queens, New York. So I guess I'm just a nerd, right? I talk about a lot of nerdy things. This is my dog, by the way. Sorry, she likes to be part of the show.
What's your name?
White. It's a Snow White. Yeah, so she always likes to be part of everything. But yeah, it just kind of talk about anything I like, any type of TV shows that I'm enjoying. I mean, genuine takes that I think I get a lot of accusations of being a rage baiter. I'm not, right? I don't say things just to piss people off or just to be a contrarian or anything like that. I believe the things I say. You know, I have a lot of videos. I've gotten a lot of views recently on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram as Jay Lagoon and on YouTube as Jay Lagoon. I do comedy skits. It's been a while since I've really put my focus into all that. I've been yapping a lot. It's been a lot of fun. It's been my channel's been growing a lot from just talking, chatting, and you know, things that I'm interested in that I talk about. And you know, like-minded people is always fun to have the conversation directly. But yeah, like I said, I talk about things like Avatar: Last Airbender. That's what we're talking about right now on my channel. We talk about Star Wars all the time. It's been like a whole month talking about it because I genuinely do love Star Wars. Things like video games that I'm playing. Like I'm playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag. A lot of different things, video games, TV shows, not really politics, but like, sometimes politics, but not anything too crazy.
What about,
mostly just fun topics.
What about anime?
Anime? Yeah. I mean, my issue in life, I always tell people, is that like I found my people many times in like school, when I was in high school and in college, and the comic book clubs and the anime clubs, but then it's always like I feel like I know, but I'm not all the way. Like I've never chosen to be like just the anime guy or just the American cartoon guy or just the comic book guy. So it's like I love everything, which means maybe I'm not expert at anything, but I like a lot of things.
Well, welcome to the battlefield.
Animes, but yeah, for sure. I mean, you guys. I mean, it's still cool to interact with lore. What do you guys call yourself? Like lore masters?
Lore masters, yeah.
Yeah, lore masters, which is really cool. Like I said, I think I never like you were saying, Choco. I never like half-ass. Can I curse?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to. Sorry. Yeah, I never half-ass like an opinion. I'm never just like saying things. I try to pay attention to things, and like I have a philosophy background in college with my minor and my majors. So I just like thinking. I like fiction. I like how it incorporates real life ideas and talking about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I've never seen any video or short from you where I felt like you were going in with bad faith. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely try not to.
Now, I have not watched any of season 2 of live action Avatar: The Last Airbender. Is it worth it to jump back in?
Yeah, that's one thing I've been arguing with my followers about. I think if you're a big fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show is just not for you, right? I think it's just for like casuals or people trying to. It seems to be a money grab to get more people involved, which I really enjoy. That it's involving people that aren't enjoying the medium of cartoons. I don't understand not enjoying the medium of cartoons, but that's who it's really for. Like the show itself,
a story is a story. I don't care what the medium is. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, come on, y'all.
I've been arguing. Like I had a video that I was talking about that got quite a few views, that got people upset. Again, another one of my rage bait takes where I was just like, the show's not as bad as people are making it out to be. It's definitely enjoyable as a show itself. You can see how it's very well sculpted, but then obviously it's never going to be better than the original show because the original show is perfect. So it's it's
like
great,
I always
in a way.
I always say that live action stuff is purpose built, right? And like me and Choco and probably everybody in the monsters in the chat are big fans of The Last Airbender. But we can watch this show. I enjoyed the first season. We can watch the show and appreciate what they do and how they tell their story and be like, that's good. Original still better, but it's not like it's not like a give and take relationship. Like they can both exist. This one exists to put my brother and my nephews
as a funnel
onto the original. And so it's the same thing with One Piece. Like I watched the live action first, and then Choco was like, "Man, you gotta go. You gotta do it." And then I blitzed through the entire anime in a month and a half. And I still enjoyed the second season. So it's like they exist for different purposes.
One pace, or you watched the whole thing?
The whole thing.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've always said if I'm going to watch One Piece or ever enjoy One Piece, I think I'm just going to read the manga. I think it's a little too much to watch, but maybe it's good enough that I will want to watch it.
You know what? With One Piece, I gotta say I struggled at the beginning, but I mean it's an older anime. Pacing was different back then. Storytelling was different back then. Honestly, I recommend people like, hey, watch the live action. It's that good and it's that faithful. Honestly, I actually think it's even more faithful because there are certain character aspects. Like, I couldn't stand Luffy for a long time until later, and you understand his full character. Like, he's not just a child. Like, there is actual purpose and reason behind it, and you see it in the anime. But it's on display from day one in the live action. and you're like, oh, okay, and like Usopp, you're like, so he doesn't just suck and is a terrible person. Like, he does have redeeming qualities, and it's all faithful to the characters. You just don't find that out in the anime until episode 200, And so I recommend people like, hey, watch a live action, start the anime where the live action lets off, and then watch it through. And then if you love it that much, go back and start through the beginning. I had a rough time in the beginning with it.
Yeah, I've never watched One Piece, but I made one video one time that I really thought was going to piss people off, but I was like, it's my honest opinion that I was like, the issue with One Piece is like out of context. It's very hard to wrap your head around it. Like, it's very, very. It's not that it's goofy looking, but it's like, this is very. What would you call that? Avant? Like very surreal. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. I can't even guess the context of what I'm looking at.
I felt, because I didn't understand the fantasy portion of it. So like, I'd see a clip and it'd be like, why is that one random lady have a giant round ass head? Like, her head is a circle. It doesn't even fit with the rest of the art style. How is that person's like sibling? And then you're like, but like, no, you just relax and just watch it. And like, out of the big three, I think it is it's still not my favorite, but I do think it is the best.
Which one's your favorite?
Naruto is my favorite of the big three.
Yes. See, like I said, I'm not an anime fan, but it's like, I've tapped in, I've seen Naruto, I've watched all of it, every episode, I've read every manga chapter. I'm like, I know this. I'm one of those weird guys that's like, I think Boruto is great. I think it's actually a really compelling story for the most part, right?
Have you seen Bleach?
I enjoy.
I've never seen Bleach.
Dang.
I've never seen Bleach. Yeah, I have a lot of missing parts, so I'm just like, I need to fill that in.
That's one of the anime that's coming back this season.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
A lot of things are coming back. Old Country Bumpkin is back.
Okay.
Is it anime?
Yeah. It's basically a guy who spent his entire life just teaching swords, and then he becomes old, but then like he realizes like most of the people can't really do it properly, like in the city. So they bring him in, but he realizes he's been doing it all his life. And he's unnaturally powerful with the sword.
Okay. I've enjoyed a lot of animes. I mean, I feel like some of the ones that I like, I hate to be that guy. It's like, I've seen the mainstream ones, and it's like, I have seen the super mainstream ones, but I've seen some really weird ones that's like, I don't even want to mention that I've seen them, but I'm like, I kind of enjoy watching random ones every so often. It's just so much, so many animes, and it's very easy to like lose time in that. But it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, right? When people are like, I'm not into anime, I'm like, what are you not into specifically? Because anime is a lot of different things. There's high school romance. There's young shonen hero stories. There's like adult themed animes. There's war. There's all kinds of themes,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I noticed is it seems to me, if I'm guessing, that we're around the same age. And it's funny because I'm getting to that age now where I'm just like, there's going to be a time maybe where a school anime, I'm going to be like, can I relate to this? But then there's plenty of animes that are like men who are reaching that part where they're like, damn, my hair's turning gray, and I'm like, I'm getting older now. And there's plenty of animes like that.
It might be the Asian don't raisin or the black don't crack, but I need to know how old you think we are.
I think you guys, neither of you can be older than 32. Am I right?
No.
I'm 38.
Really?
I'm 40.
Well. Oh, how old do I look? Maybe I'm 40.
I would say 28.
Yeah, 29.
Okay.
About there.
I went a
right.
little.
I was like, no, he's giving me the Gen Zennial vibes, or millennial.
I'm on the cusp. I'm a cusper.
Yeah.
I went just a little younger because you mentioned majors and stuff. So I was like, oh, maybe closer or just graduated or but.
Yeah, no, that was a while back. 2020, I graduated, so not too long ago. But yeah, graduated 2020. About to be 30, which is, I mean, it's cool. Like I said, there's a lot. It's cool to be an adult nerd. You know, like it was.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely,
lucky enough. I don't know what your guys' experience was. Again, you are how many classes ahead of me? Is that? I guess it's like 8 classes ahead of me. I don't know how school was for you. By the time I was in school, Star Wars was cool. Like nobody was making fun of me for liking Star Wars.
Nope.
We all loved Star Wars. Yeah, we're all having fun. Everybody loved it.
Not
Loved
for
all the
me.
nerd shit. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed the prequels for what they were. Like I never thought they were perfect, but I enjoyed them. And I swear to God, like the revisionist history is insane because
That's right.
everyone hated everything about every one of them. And for the longest time, I thought I was literally the only person who liked it. So I grew up not talking about Star Wars with anyone. So like I was, you know, and I was the person who like I skateboarded, I played music in bands and all this stuff. And then like, but I've always been really introverted and nerdy. So like I'd go out and like do cool guy stuff. And then there are people be like, "Oh, you wanna come out and like chill or whatever?" And I'm like, "Nah, man." And I just like go home and play Pokemon or something. Like,
Yeah, no, things shifted. Yeah, Gen Z is very weird, I guess. Like, I guess I grew up with them, but again, I am a millennial, so I'm different in a lot of ways to them. But like, yeah, for me, I am very extroverted. I guess I was popular in school. I was prom king. Like, that's not a joke. I actually was, which doesn't matter. But it's like I wasn't like cool, like how you expect cool to be. I was like, yo, everybody should be watching Star Wars. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And they're like, why? I'm like, let me show you the scene. And they show them. They're just like, that is cool. And I'm like, yeah, trust me, it's cool. And then it's like I feel like a lot of that is my channel, right? Like I saw on your guys' like tagline, your biography of Dyad and the Force over on YouTube. I guess that's where we're at right now. In a few different places we're live. That you guys are saying like, you know, you're trying to bring back the you know, the fandom and try to like, you know, reignite those conversations. For me, I'm like, whenever I talk about Star Wars, I don't talk about it in terms of it being like it's a very cool thing to me. Like I'm like, this isn't uncool when I'm talking about Star Wars. I think this is cool. You should all think this is cool, and I explain it to people in like funny ways, like joke around. Like most of what I do is comedy, but like I explain things, and I'm like, people who've never seen Star Wars are like, wait, this kind of sounds fun to watch. It's like it is. You should watch it.
yeah, I mean, a lot of like I am a massive fan of like the books and stuff. So like one of the very first things I did is kind of like start a book club and just try to get as many people around watching or reading Star Wars books as possible.
Okay.
And then like, you know, that started to take off and stuff. But I feel like if you're in it like that and to take in more information, I don't know. It's just a blast to talk to everyone about it. You know, you can't really be a dick about new stuff if you're constantly reading new stuff. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's just a lot of fun. We just made a lot of videos and stuff.
Yeah, for me, it seemed like you guys are pretty. I don't even know how you would describe that. I was going to ask you what type of like Star Wars fans you think you would consider yourself. Like you mentioned the prequels and like the revisionism. Like I was part of, I guess, the generation that when I watched it growing up, the prequels, there was never a thought that ever crossed my mind that this wasn't the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. And everybody that I knew growing up, I was like, that shit was cool, right? And they're like, that was cool. And I'm like, cool. And then I got older and people are like, this sucks. And I'm like, what sucks about pod racing? I was like, this was awesome. I was like, I like Jar Jar Binks. I don't love him. I'm like, but I like Anakin Skywalker. I'm not mad at anything I saw. Like, what are you mad about? But then, like I said, as I got slightly older, like in teenage years, I watched the original trilogy and I'm just like, I understand, right? Like we're especially now being a Star Wars fan, and even a longtime Star Wars fan, or like an intermediate Star Wars fan. Now people's like perception of the sequels, I feel like, is a resurgence of what happened. Where it's like, no, Star Wars is the original trilogy, and then this new thing came in and it's different, and it's like, no, but the old one that's Star Wars, and it's hard to let Star Wars grow as a fan. I think for some people.
Yeah. So for you,
yeah.
Who's the main character? Who is Star Wars about? What is, you know? What is your Actually, let me ask this: what's your top? Give me your top 5 for your Star Wars ranking.
5 for my Star Wars. What's it?
Top 5 favorite Star Wars projects.
Like all of them. Okay.
Yeah.
I think my favorite, just because a lot of it's nostalgia, but then as I've grown with the lore and understanding like the overall universe, episode 3 is probably my favorite, just because everything coming together and then leading to the actual story that I prefer over the prequels. Like I said, I appreciate the original trilogy. I like it a lot more than the prequels, but I still love the prequels. So 3 for sure is up there, and then after 3 is 5, and then after 5 is probably 4. If I'm probably do movies, right?
No, I'm saying projects. So you can go TV shows, you can go, whatever.
Yeah, so for me, it's those 3 movies. Those are the top 3, and then after that, in terms of projects, I mean, it's hard for me to pick between like Clone Wars or Rebels, because it's kind of like one continuous story. But I guess I'll say Rebels. I think Rebels I prefer a little bit over Clone Wars, and then after that, I think it's recency bias to an extent, but Ahsoka, I think, was a really cool amalgamation of like Star Wars over the years coming into like one thing. So I think that's like really up there for me.
Okay, I like it. No, it's a Renaissance man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. No,
Can't wait for season 2 of Ahsoka.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, which is season 6 of Rebels.
I push back on that all the time.
Well,
yeah, no,
but I get the sentiment.
Only because like my brother, my sister, and everybody that watches it that's never seen Rebels loves Ahsoka, and so to them it's not going to be like Rebels season 5 or something, or 4.5.
That's funny. I feel like there was like a divide between people who kind of like hated Ahsoka because they didn't understand any of the reference or who was who or what's going on. But then it's interesting to hear that people just like liked it right off the bat.
That's something that I attributed to Star Wars fans who had yet to watch Rebels, and they had created this boogeyman in their head that they needed to understand the history of these characters rather than the current situation that they were in. Because like whenever my brother would ask me about Ezra and Sabine and all these characters, it was like, yeah, they were in a show before. It's like, okay, cool, but he understands what's happening to them right now, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of information, but like the stuff that's not in it is not holding up the plot. Like if anything, honestly, it would be more important to watch Clone Wars, I think, than Rebels. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the one thing that did bother me from it is the Ahsoka Anakin stuff wasn't earned in the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
All the other stuff, you know, we're continuing with her, training Sabine from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, which was after Rebels. You know, all that stuff where we're getting, but like. I know. I wish there was more in the show about that or for that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people complain about the Star Wars fandom in general and how toxic it can be, which is unfortunate. I mean, I've obviously I make videos about Star Wars quite a bit, so I get that pushback a lot, and it's I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I will ask directly. Like, I think I can assume, based on the name of your channel, that you guys are, again, more, I don't even know what you would consider that, more liberal in Star Wars, like more accepting, whereas some people are like, 2012, October, as soon as Disney took over, Star Wars isn't Star Wars anymore. Fuck all this, right? Everything, which is unfortunate because you missed some of the greatest Star Wars that has been in years, but I don't think you guys are like that, or maybe you are.
Yeah. So for me, Star Wars is Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, I'll say I probably enjoy more canon stuff than anything else. But like, I mean, I've read like 150 Legends books. You know, like I like. I'm not. I enjoy the hell out of that. I just think the quality has gotten better, and the quality control has gotten a lot better. And it really does bother me when people try to ice out new people because they like something that they don't like, and you're like, it's okay to not like it, but like but this is what I grew up in, right? I grew up when I was young, I got made fun of because I bought the special edition VHS box set, and they're like, "What? That's not Star Wars." The special editions that ruin Star Wars. And you know what I mean? Like you're clearly not a fan because you got the special. And I'm like, I don't know. Like Cloud City is just way cooler. And I think it's weird when Palpatine is like a chimpanzee mask with goggles. Like that was kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like I feel like why y'all held up on this? Yeah, there's good and bad in both. Most of my content was actually about the prequels. I love The Last Jedi. That's my favorite Star Wars film. But overall, I'd probably put the sequels as my least favorite of the trilogies. But yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, recently I caught a lot of flack because sometimes I make videos where I'm not even saying anything drastic about Star Wars. Like I made a video originally where I said, listen, the sequel trilogy of Star Wars is not better than the prequels or the original trilogies, but it's not the dumpster fire that people try to pretend it is. And I said there's a lot in there that's really good, especially The Last Jedi, and people were just, they did not want to hear that, right? Because there's The Last Jedi, I think, was very divisive, where people hated it, right, and said that it shitted all over Star Wars and it bastardized what it's supposed to be about, and it didn't take into account anything. And then there's people like me who was just like, I think this follows the rules of Star Wars very well, and this is a natural progression in a different interpretation, and I really appreciate them trying to do that, and I agree with a lot of what the choices that they made. But what is it that makes it your favorite, I wonder?
In general, I'm someone who well, in general, my favorite things are the character studies, the cerebral things, the things that kind of make you that are all about perspective, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so and it also probably has a lot to do with my age, you know, when it was coming out. Because Star Wars for me was always Luke Skywalker's story, right? Because I predate the prequels.
Yeah.
And then seeing, understanding, how do I put it? Having my relationship with like my parents change. When you realize the legends that you've made of people, they're regular people. They have faults, they have flaws, they fall down, whatever. But then this is like, yeah, but the legend is still extremely important and motivating people and lifting people up. And like, I don't know, there's so many bits. I mean, I could talk about that movie for hours and hours and hours, but I feel like as far as, you know, character development and deep lore, I mean, I feel like that does it the best of any of the Star Wars films for me.
It challenged the status quo. And as you grow up in Star Wars, you want your stories to grow up as well. Now, granted, like the whole premise is still entirely made for kids, but when you can see that when you were young, Luke was impulsive and adventurous, and you're like, yeah, he's my hero. When you're old, you also want to see Luke be like kind of jaded, but that's due to his experiences, and that's something that you go through as well as you grow up. But like how he turns that into an arc when the movie's not about him is what made him my favorite character because of The Last Jedi. You know, I grew up liking Luke Skywalker, but then as I grew older, I was like, oh man, he's just like a brash, like impulsive little kid. He's annoying as shit. And then Last Jedi was like, oh, this guy's real. Like, dang. Like, if you ever have to suffer that kind of shame and you know, face people, it's super relatable.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I was arguing with people back and forth online, making a bunch of videos of people being very upset about it, I guess the main consensus was that's not Luke Skywalker. And for me, I was like, I think that absolutely is Luke Skywalker. I'm like, I think in the original, again, like you said, you can see him being a happy, jolly kid and kind of like almost naive to what's going on, but you can also see him questioning things immediately as you're telling him, like, hey, you know, your friends are in trouble, but attachments. We're not going to have attachments. Fuck what you're talking about. My friends are in trouble. Like you see him questioning the Jedi, it would serve logically that he would grow up, question these things further, and then saying, you know what, maybe they're not right, and maybe I don't have to agree with everything, and I don't have to be a Jedi, and nobody has to be a Jedi. I think it was really cool how he like reflected on that.
But that's also the nuance that totally skyrocketed The Last Jedi for me, because at the end of that lesson with Yoda, it wasn't just he was right, he was wrong. Like, yeah, it was healthy to question what the Jedi had pretended with their teachings, but he was also wrong in that they needed to end, and that everything needed to be like, he needed to remove himself. But like, you know, when he comes back and he's like, you know, I was weak and unwise, you know, and Yoda, for all of his failures, comes back, he's like, yeah, sure, cool, move on, like the here and now, think, you know what I mean, like now we need to not lose Rey, so what are we gonna do about it?
Also, I think it was everyone's best performance, honestly. I thought that was
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, what I was arguing to people, like I said, back and forth, was that basically Star Wars, in so many ways, when you really like, it's like when you get a little older, like I'm not as old as you guys, but I'm going to be, obviously. As you get older, you're just like, you know, you realize people, there's nobody's right or wrong. Like, some people are right sometimes. Even someone who's like, you look up to, like Yoda, you grow up like, oh, this is like the ultimate. He can be wrong. He has been wrong, right? And he'll tell you that I've been wrong. Like, and that's the idea of like that Star Wars movie for me, that I was like, this realization that's like, oh no, like nobody's perfect in this universe, nobody's perfect anywhere, and you can make mistakes and you can grow from them and you can change. Like, I thought that was really cool, like I said, because it's fantasy, but it's realistic.
I smell profit.
For listening to my ramblings a couple weeks ago. You guys are awesome. Can't wait to see you back on that board, Choco. You're both going far.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for that drop.
Yeah. I'm in the gym every morning at 4:50 a.m. I'm trying to get back to skateboarding because I want to skate again. So,
and get ready for hoverboards, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's a joke we've always made, that if I'm 55 when hoverboards come out, I'm gonna figure it out. Right,
you know, but the government came out with hoverboards, but one kid got hurt, so they banned. Like, do you remember that conversation? I remember everyone talked about like, oh yeah, it was my cousin's neighbor's kid or whatever, and he got really hurt, so they can't do it.
That's another thing. That's another topic that I want to broach before we get deep into the prophecy stuff.
Yeah.
Outside of Hell Mode coming back, Free Ren's coming back, so catch up, Choco, but also catch up to Bleach because we're gonna react to that. Skeleton Knight in Another World, Wistoria is back. Wistoria is peak right now. Did you start it?
Yeah, it's good. Oh yeah.
Clevetess is back.
Yes.
Trapped in a Dating Sim is back. Fate Strange Fake. I Got a Cheat Skill is back. Farming Life in Another World is back.
Skeleton Knight in Another World is back.
You start to realize when you follow so many anime, I don't think there's a season in the year where nothing is coming back.
Yeah, that's what overwhelms me about anime so much. Like, it's that industry is ridiculous.
But they're so good.
Yeah, for sure. There's a reason why.
But in terms of change and where the world is going, I did want to talk about this kind of boogeyman that people are talking about with Sony and potentially the entire game industry going away from physical discs. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's it's almost dystopian, which is obviously a overreaction. But this idea that, like I said, I just before playing Black Flag, I was playing Cyberpunk, and I was like, we're starting to move to this thing where it's like you can just download the information, but you're not going to have it. There's nothing's physical. It's all just on the net. Matter of fact, put a computer in your head, right? And it's like that's obviously a very big slippery slope, and that's not what I'm saying is happening. But I think it's very weird how it's seems innocent enough that it's like, okay, gamers will not have physical games anymore, right? I have them right here.
Want to
if you want to read
hear
that, you
say
can.
dollar reduce.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Comcast, for the dollary days.
Yeah, like it's weird to that. It's like it feels like the step towards something where it's like, okay, no more possession. You guys can play the games, but if your hard drive dies, you just lost that game. Or one day, if you don't pay for your subscription, those games are gone. You never had them to begin with. It's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I definitely hear that argument. The only pushback that I would provide is that this was inevitable. Like, and that's not to say it's also correct for them to do this, but like, things have been going digital for a long time. My movie library is digital, and
PS5,
my entire
right?
game library on Steam is digital. And, you know, with GTA 6 being a code in a box, we knew the industry was going in this direction. And so rather than kind of focusing our efforts on arguing against this shift, I'd rather we argue against the current state of digital rights. Because you're right. Like, what happens if you lose the digital media? Do you lose the game? Do you even own the game? And I feel like it's a good conversation to have with the industry. If you're going to make us give up physical media, then we should start rewriting the rights, the end user license agreement on if we spend $80 on a game, that means that game is, you have a license to that game that is yours. Right? Yeah. And it's kind of the same way we deal with software, where you get a serial number and you can be like, here, I bought this like 3 years ago, here's my serial number, can I get it back? Obviously that's also going away, but thankfully Resolve and a couple of other companies are still doing perpetual licenses. But you know what I mean. I feel like if there's a fight to be had, it's redefining what it means to buy a digital medium.
Well, I think it's funny because I think, especially when it comes to like video games or like, you know, animes or cartoon or anybody having an opinion about anything, I think sometimes people try to downplay things, but everything is a reference to something bigger, right? My previous job, I used to work for a company called Genesis. I can say that publicly. It's publicly defined. I don't work there anymore. Genesis is a luxury car company. So in like luxury cars right now, especially like vehicles, it's becoming very gray because there's so much technology in cars that the autonomy is coming away from the driver. So people are getting into accidents and saying, okay, but I had my smart cruise control on. Is that my fault or is that the computer's fault? Why am I being that type of thing? Where as technology grows, the human element kind of comes out of it. The physical element leaves it. If we're talking about automotive, but then I can see how that bleeds down to like video games. Like for me, it's convenience. So like I can see the issue with people not being happy that there's not physical disc, but then at the same time, I don't think I've bought a physical disc of a game at any point because like just the convenience of, okay, the game comes out at 12 o'clock and I'm going to be able to play the game at 12 o'clock because it's on it's right here. The convenience. But then, like I said, that's why
pre-orders sell you early access is to make sure you're downloading the digital version, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's I don't know. I mean, I go back and forth on it. I mean, like what you said with the cars is it's like we're getting to the point where they're like, oh, well, you didn't pay for your monthly subscription of performance package, so you lose 60 horsepower, and you're like,
right.
What? How is that a thing?
Exactly.
And I don't know. So I specifically when it comes to PlayStation, and I was a PlayStation kid. PlayStation was my go-to forever. I just think they are making unforced errors left and right, and they're doing it loudly and being a dick about it. So, I haven't bought physical media in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, just the way they came out with this, it reminded me of when Xbox was like, "Oh, you don't want to have to be plugged in online? Well, we have a console, the old one," and you're like, "Why? Why did you say that?
Does nobody own a mobile phone?"
Well, you know, for me, like I said, what I think is so interesting about it is as things become less physical, hackers in the world become more powerful. So, like, for example, obviously this Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender, leaking the entire movie in 4K 60 FPS, that blew my mind, that I was like, that you can do that. But things like that are going to continue to happen. Like video games, entire video games are going to start getting leaked, and it's just going to become the norm. And it's kind of crazy that like there's just a database that there are people who can learn coding enough to hack into and then just have.
Also, what Ryan PW said in the chat as well. Sony said that they deleted 500 movies from their library, and so if you could have bought a movie, it's in your collection on the console, and it's gone now because they decided not to carry it anymore, even though you paid for it, and that sort of thing. Like, know, that's starts to make me feel like doing some One Piece stuff. I have software that like my Audible library strips it so I can just save it on my computer as MP3s because I'm paranoid. But I'm like, listen, just because you're paranoid, like, I don't know, they are out to get you.
There's a caveat to that because Sony also, with its subsidiary movie studios and distribution, participates in Movies Anywhere, right? And so like I could have bought this movie on Google Play or through Prime or through Fandango, and because it's Movies Anywhere Alliance, it's available on all of the libraries. So like if I bought the Star Wars entire saga on Google Play, but because Google Play doesn't have the bonus features, I watch it on Fandango at home because it's Movies Anywhere and it comes with the bonus features there. And that's one of the things that like I feel like we need to include in our discourse about physical media being a thing, because you're right. Like if they do remove movies just in general and you just don't have access to them anymore, then that's a huge like middle finger. But like I feel like this is gonna happen, and so we need to talk about what it means to spend $30 on a movie. Do you own it? Is it available no matter what, anywhere? Like
offline?
Offline. I can download the movies too offline, but like it all depends on if those services are available for me to download, and we just like really need to have a serious conversation about that.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mentioned online because like that's what my friends have talked about. That they're like, so like everything requires you to have internet. I know people who like don't have internet, like don't have Wi-Fi. They just have like I think like a physical LAN cable, and like that's all I use. And it's like if they're not home or something like that, they're not downloading anything, or they just don't pay for internet. It's like, okay, well then there's limited amounts of entertainment that you can enjoy at this point.
Well, I mean, so with that specifically, it bugs me when it's an unnecessary hurdle. Like, okay, if my internet runs out, or runs out, let's say something happens and they are updating, a system at my apartment complex and I don't have internet. Yeah. Sure, I can't play Fortnite or whatever, but like I should be able to play a game that is stored physically on my machine. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't bar me from that sort of thing. And that's the level we're starting to get to of like, oh no, we can't. It didn't connect, therefore you can't access. And you're like, that don't make sense.
Yeah, no, like you said, it was funny because what you said before was a joke, but it's actually not. Like some people, like you said, will subscription on their car, or a certain car will run out, and all of a sudden they won't have as many safety precautions as they did before. And it's like, what the fuck? What are we doing? Like, why are we taking? Why is it behind a paywall? Why is it digital? Why can you turn that off?
It's exactly why I pay for OnStar, is to get safety diagnostics on my tire pressure and my oil pressure and everything. Well, not oil pressure anymore, but it's funny that stuff. I mean, like, I think life is becoming a service subscription model, right? At some point, we're just gonna die because we couldn't pay our monthly life.
I mean, it's literally just Cyberpunk. Like that's.
Or that Justin Timberlake.
That's another anime that's coming back too. Just season 2 of Cyberpunk. Yeah.
Just like what is that? Lost, or the Justin Timberlake joint where you have to pay with time.
Oh with time.
In time. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Yeah, it's possible. Those types of, I mean, those things are very fictional, but they're becoming more realistic. I mean, like I said, even like Star Wars in a lot of ways. I don't see a lot of physical media in Star Wars. There is obviously like what are they called, like a hollow discs or whatever, but a lot of it does become
holotapes.
Yeah. So similar. It's like what if the bowl breaks? Now what? You don't get the book anymore or what? So
And I hate to say this too, but I agree with Musk when he says because all of this stuff is happening, everyone should be paid high basic income.
yeah.
Right? Because a lot of things are being automated, AI is taking over, and so a lot of our services.
He said that?
Yeah,
That's good. Sorry, that's surprising.
because he was saying like because all of these services and the quality of services will be handled by AI and be autonomous, the cost of the cost of turnover is not people's salaries, right? It's going to become cheaper to operate, but you'll still need people with buying power and velocity of cash to inject the economy. And so, without people working, you gotta give them money, right? And so he went beyond basic. He went high, like $5,000 a month in exchange for AI taking over everything. And that's like what? That's like what's that one movie where like they were like all just like sitting in like carts and just like fatties and like just like is that Wall-E?
Wall-E?
Wall-E, yeah, it's Wall-E. Yeah, no, I mean, there were. That's when I was in college. You talked about it. It's called like the jobless future. That's like it's an apocalypse that's like very real. And I mean, like you can see that even again if we bring it back to the topic to Star Wars, you can literally see it in Star Wars that if you think about it, what does an entry level job look like in Star Wars? These people are like extremely highly intelligent computer coders that to work on in computer factories, like to understand the inner workings of computers. And that's the thing is like. Again, not to get too far into politics, I'm sure you guys aren't very like political or whatever publicly, but like like the education needs to be higher in general, so people the entry level can be higher and people can enter into the workforce at a higher point to start. Where it's like right now.
That was that was the entire promise of the country. That was the purpose of moving manufacturing overseas. Is but whatever. Have you seen Pantheon?
Pantheon. I don't think I have. What's that about?
Ooh, Netflix. Watch Pantheon. I can tell you're gonna love it. You're gonna eat it up. I promise you.
You're gonna walk away making like 200 videos on Pantheon.
Yeah, you got to let us know. You got to watch it and come back here and talk about it because it's that good.
Is it anime? Is it live action? What's that?
It's animated. It's Western. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Eaton Black says Musk says that shit and then cuts social services with his Doge cohort. Yeah, I mean, I agreed with that sentence. I don't agree with Musk though.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Elon Musk is like the one when you talk about like the autonomy. Like if I forget what it is. If you mess up your auto drive on with a Tesla, like I think 2 or 3 times, like it just shuts off. It's like, wait, my car can't drive itself anymore. Like, can you turn that off? It's like you have to like pay attention to what you're doing, or it would just deactivate.
It's always it's funny too because with all these new technologies, there's just weird stuff that pops up that there's no way you can predict for until it happens. So there's like random like residential neighborhoods that are just have like dozens and dozens of driverless cars just driving around in like circles, and they're like, what's happening? And they're like, well, they need the cars to keep moving, and it's finding a spot where there's not a lot of traffic, but all of them are doing that at the same time. And so there's like people have traffic jams in front of their houses and it's just driverless cars.
No, I mean, for sure. Waymos, I saw some videos during 4th of July and Waymos just doing whatever they want to do. It's very sophisticated though.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't we move on to the topic of prophecies and free will? Now,
the Destiny 2 dungeon?
Yes.
Oh.
obviously the preamble to this is our back and forth on TikTok and shorts.
Yeah.
So I'd like Jay Lagoon to kind of reiterate. Is it okay if I call you Jay? Jordan?
You can call me Jay. Jordan, whatever you like.
Just to reiterate the premise of their argument, and then I'll let kind of Choco handle it. Like, I don't want it to be like a 2-on-1 type of thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so the original video that I made that kind of like that you caught wind of was I was talking about how the general gist of what I'm saying is the things that happened in Star Wars were supposed to happen, right? That they happened because they were foretold in a prophecy that ended up turning out a certain way, and in hindsight, you can extrapolate that was the way it was always going to happen, right? That there wasn't another path. So what I was arguing with people in the comments, and then me and him were kind of going back and forth about amicably, was that there wasn't another decision to make, that Anakin was always going to fall to the dark side, that the Jedi were always going to fall, and that everything that happened was going to happen, that the prophecy foretold it, and after it happened, in hindsight, we know that like that's exactly what the future that it was referring to.
Yeah, and I get that. For me, I mean, let me read a George Lucas quote, and then this is kind of where I'm coming down with. It's that you have control over your destiny, that you have a destiny, that you have many paths to walk down, and that you may have a great destiny. If you decide not to walk down that path, your life might not as be satisfying as if you wake up and listen to your inner feelings and realize that you have a particular talent for what contributions you can make to your society. You know, he's saying that that's the message that he was trying to convey. And so, and I mean, and I don't see anything in Star Wars or in George's words or in his descriptions of it or in other media that leads me to believe that everything was destined, even the bad stuff. Like if we look at the prophecy by itself in isolation, prophecy doesn't say the Jedi have to be destroyed. Like that is not part of the fulfillment of the prophecy. But more than that, I feel like that, like if I believed that, I don't know that I would be a fan of Star Wars. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if, you know, if genocide was always in the plan, I you know, like that's, I love, for me, Anakin is like my older sister. I have an older sister who's just the most talented person you could ever meet. And right now, I don't know where she is. She's homeless somewhere in Southern California. Because she, you know, got too deep into the drug scene and lost herself. And so, and I see a lot of parallels in her story, but like to believe that everything, even the bad stuff and even the murder and all, you know, when I watch Revenge of the Sith, we have the moment Anakin has already killed Count Dooku. And Palpatine is dead to rights. And Palpatine says, "You must choose." And Anakin chose not. Anakin knew the prophecy, or Anakin knew what he was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And had he done it, you know, the thing that was corrupting everything, you know, both of the Sith would be gone. That would fulfill the prophecy. That's not what happened, obviously, but I think that's the point of the film, is to show that choice matters, that what you do matters, and that, you know, and I also just feel like there is a lot of strange stuff about the Jedi in general in the zeitgeist of trying to make them seem like they're the bad guys. And even though like the narrative is like, obviously it's this guy corrupting this kid, you know, but then if the Jedi serve the will of the Force and Jedi children being murdered was the will of the Force, then the hell do I know? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I feel like the concept of it being predestined kind of ruins it. But what I do believe is that the Skywalker family itself is preternatural in their ability to foresee events. I don't think anyone else, when they see the something, I mean, it's not locked in stone, or at least there's not enough information. They usually meet their destiny on the road, that they take to avoid it. But yeah, without choice, without agency, then there's no redemption, right? There's no love conquering hate in the galaxy because nothing matters. So why do it?
Yeah. I mean, so that was part of the couple of videos that we made in the comments that we had, exchanges back and forth on TikTok and other places, I believe. But I think, or what I mentioned was, I don't think that the Jedi being destroyed was the Force's will, that the Force wanted that to happen, that we know that the Force was sick and that there was an outside force acting on it, making it do things that he wouldn't do, or making things happen that shouldn't happen. I don't think that the prophecy told that the Jedi would be destroyed and that Anakin would be the one to do it. I think that the prophecy said that the Force would become sick. And I think a great indicator of something being sick, especially a society, is if children are being slaughtered, like you said, or there's genocide. Something's wrong in the society. Something's not going right. I don't think that's the will of the Force. I think that's what's the word? Why am I losing the word? It's because of the sickness that happened, not because the prophecy allowed it to happen, not because the Force let it happen. I don't think the Force wanted the children to die, but of course the Sith's purpose is to bastardize it and do things that are unnatural and do things that are wrong that wouldn't happen if they weren't there to force it.
Yeah, I kind of view the Force as kind of as like a tree or a shrubling that's growing towards the light because it wants to be alive. It's not because the tree is sentient and is trying to dodge something. You know what I mean? Like if I put something there, it'll grow around it. Yeah. In The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson actually talks about Luke's reason for sequestering himself, and he said that essentially Luke felt like he was falling on his own sword, that the Jedi had been responsible or related to enough damage in the galaxy that the light should rise from a more worthy source. And that, to me, fits in perfectly with everything that I have learned about the Force and Star Wars and all the many, many years of George Lucas quotes of you have a destiny and you can choose to walk it. If you don't walk it, the Force can elect someone else to attempt to walk it. I fully believe if Anakin didn't fulfill a prophecy, or let's say he died or whatever, the Force would have tried to essentially self-correct, maybe elect someone else to carry it forward. And also, that's also how I feel about people like, we had Chirrut Imwe in Rogue One walk across this battlefield to hit a button, right? That was the Force that allowed him to do that, right? Because the Force was kind of electing him in that moment. But I also think that is probably also the product of another failure. That he was the next person in the chain, to be given the opportunity to. So yeah, I don't think, I think the prophecy was going to be fulfilled regardless, but I don't think it had to be fulfilled in the specific way that Anakin fulfilled it, and I don't necessarily believe it had to be fulfilled by Anakin.
What do you mean by that?
I honestly believe, let's say,
or you mean like what you said before about it could be someone else could be born and they could have no father and they could be a new chosen one, you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, what would happen? The Jedi be like, oh, there's a guy. We thought he was the chosen one, but like he ended up killing all of us. So like that didn't work out. You know what I mean?
I just want to.
It's like a hindsight thing. Is always Go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to add something to what Choco said. Another way that it could work with the prophecy, and it's not Anakin, is that the language of the prophecy, it says through him.
That's true as well.
So it could be Ahsoka trained by Anakin. It could be Rey, trained by Luke, who was trained by Yoda, but Luke birthed from Anakin. So anything that happens through him is essentially satisfying that part of the prophecy.
Yeah, I mean, so the point that I wanted to bring up, like I said, I don't want you to lose faith in Star Wars based on what I'm saying. If it was the way, or it is the way that I'm saying it is, because for me, how I interpreted it, and I think that it makes a lot of sense, is that Anakin is the chosen one, right? He was born of the Force and is a vessel of the Force to bring balance. I think that it stands to reason that through Anakin's life and his decisions, him becoming sick like the Force was makes sense, right? Like him having this feeling the sickness deeply inside of himself that the Force was feeling, and then being able to overcome it through his son, through his relationships, through his past. I think that was ultimately the idea, was that the Force had this embodiment of a person who, in the narrative of Star Wars, is going through the same thing that the Force itself is going through. But then, like you said, when you brought up your sister, just because you're in a dark place, you're not lost. You can be in the darkest. You could be, like I said, I saw comments on some of the videos, which I didn't agree with, where the people said, this kind of makes it an excuse for the bad things that Anakin did. There's no excuse, right? He's evil. He did evil, horrible, terrible things. But the idea there is, can you be redeemed if you do the worst things in the world, right? And we saw him be redeemed. We've seen people in real life be redeemed, hopefully not doing things like that. But the idea is, no matter how bad it gets, if he's the chosen one, I think he was chosen to like be the example of, okay, bring us from the darkness, show us how that works in a person, and through your journey getting back to the light, we will all get back to the light. That's how I interpreted it.
Well, I mean, we know that the in George Lucas world, the light is the balance, right? And the people who are manipulating the dark side are the ones who cause the imbalance, and he refers to it in terms like drug use or like a cancer. And so in that scenario, it would stand to reason that Anakin's fall was directly manipulated by Palpatine. Palpatine is not operating by will of the Force. He is, by definition, trying to subjugate the Force. He's actively not listening to its will, and that's what he used in order to turn Anakin. So I wouldn't think that Anakin's any of his actions in the dark side come from the Force itself, right? That comes from the corruption, acting upon.
But that's kind of what I meant. I think that Anakin is like this example of the damage that Palpatine and other Sith Lords have done to the Force itself. That the way that it changed him from who he's supposed to be, which is like the ultimate light, the ultimate balance, and was able to turn him into the ultimate evil, right? Like probably the worst person in the galaxy, right behind his master. Is like it's not. I don't think we should take that as the Force is weak, or the Force didn't know what it wanted, or it wanted these bad things to happen. It's more about, okay, Palpatine is really fucking bad, and he's really good at being bad, and he's messing up things that shouldn't be messed up, and that's the idea. It's unnatural what he's doing.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. What do you think of Pep?
So, the premise that everything that happened, at least as it pertains to Anakin, was meant to happen. Not that these things were controlled by the Force, but they were meant to happen based on the prophecy. And I think you said this in your final response too on TikTok. You were arguing for deterministic free will. So in a philosophical sense, the other side of that is libertarian free will, right? My response to that is that deterministic free will hinges on your choices being an illusion. That regardless of what choice you think you may have or believed you made, the outcome was already predestined. So you think you had free will, you made a choice, but in a deterministic free will framework, that choice was an illusion. It was always going to be the choice you made. My contention with that is that because George Lucas, and it's difficult to debate this in a real world sense because we don't have like an omniscient third person that comes down and tells us, no, this is how shit works here in the real world. So it's a huge debate in philosophy, but as it pertains to Star Wars, when George Lucas confirms that Anakin could have chosen differently, that he was in control of his destiny, he could have brought balance here, but he brought balance 20 years later. The existence of that choice is proof of libertarian free will, right? And so like when it comes to the prophecy being true, all it comes down to is that Anakin restored balance, but it's never explicit in how he restores balance. It just says through him will ultimate balance be restored. George Lucas describes it as the destruction and eradication of Sith. And you know, by giving us this context in the commentary and his, you know, behind the scenes that Anakin made the wrong choice, it presents a libertarian free will, but it also adds more weight and impact to the tragedy of Anakin. Like we're talking about, this is how bad things got for him due to the sickness of the Force and the Sith, and it serves as an example of like what you can do to overcome it and come back from it. I think it is narratively more impactful that he made those choices himself, and when his son was getting electrocuted, he was like, oh shit, and he made that choice right then and there. And so it all comes down to how Anakin chooses to engage with anything that's presented to him, right? And so like whenever we go through the original trilogy, it's always, you don't know the power of the dark side, I must obey. But when it comes to the love of his son, he chose differently. And with a libertarian free will framework, he could have not saved Luke. But on the flip side, we have Yoda and Obi-Wan in the background being like, there is another. It's like, yeah, okay, well, maybe Leia will do it. Who knows? So all this to say that I think if you're going to double down on deterministic free will, there has to be evidence that he could not have chosen differently.
Yeah. I think I wanted to ask you guys this question, or kind of like ponder this to you, because you both are, like you said, lore masters, you said, right? Like I've seen your diagrams like really, really in depth. And I feel like looking at Anakin Skywalker's character and all the forces that were weighing on him, all the things that went wrong, talking about like Qui-Gon Jinn's death and him not having that mentor figure and the master manipulation of Palpatine, I struggle to understand how you guys believe that, or I want to know, I'm going to ask you, you believe that Anakin could have made another decision, as in everything being the same, how could he have made a different decision being manipulated by a master manipulator, not having a support system in the Jedi? Like, I feel like it's all, everything went together to push him to the dark side. Not because the Jedi were bad, not because he wasn't susceptible to what they were teaching, but because he was manipulated, right? And I think, again, Darth Vader is an evil person. Anakin Skywalker is a victim, right? They are the same person, but in that moment, he's being manipulated by this horrible, evil person who's not giving him a chance. Even the moment that you referenced earlier where you said, with Mace Windu, where you said, hey, you have to choose. Even I didn't take that as you have a choice. He's saying you have to choose. I already know what you're going to choose. I've manipulated you enough to know you're not going to save this man. You're going to save me, and you're going to betray him, and you're going to work for me because I've instilled that fear in you. So, like, as lore masters, do you believe his characterization and everything surrounding him would have allowed him to make any different choice?
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
You believe so?
There's well, really quickly, there's a lot of moments that present itself in Anakin almost seeing through the lies, right? Obviously, he likes to spout what Palpatine says, like, I see through the lies of the Jedi. But in the course of the prequel trilogy, he shows remorse for killing the Tusken Raiders. For whatever reason, he didn't need to tell Padme that. And oftentimes he is confiding in someone because he thinks he's doing the wrong thing. When it comes to Dooku, he says, this is not the Jedi way. We don't kill the unarmed. But Palpatine's his best friend. He's like, do it. So he does it. When he finds out Palpatine's the Sith, do you want to kill me? He's like, I would certainly like to. Like, so those moments present itself where Anakin is not necessarily clear-headed, but there is an inkling in there that I'll say is the parts of Shmi that he holds on to that is influential in how he approaches things. Now, obviously, part of the tragedy is that he was, in fact, manipulated by Palpatine. But to say that because Palpatine manipulated him, he had no choice but to make the wrong choice, I still think that is a fallacious statement to make.
And also, there's kind of this idea that Palpatine, being the ultimate evil, is the ultimate mastermind, and all of this was wrapped up and buttoned up. And one of the things I love, especially about the Clone Wars and the expanded media, is you find out, he had plans on top of plans on top of plans, but it was about to fall apart so many times. And honestly, that's the most encouraging thing. Like, the biggest foil to Palpatine was a teenage girl. Like, Amidala literally he had to constantly be like, oh god damn it, like, okay, all right, I guess we're going to plan B or whatever. And that's what I really enjoyed, like, George Lucas, when it comes to the prequels, specifically has stated that there is two purposes. He wanted to show how democracy falls and how a good person turns evil. And I mean, he cites so many, and so I feel like your argument robs us of really important stuff that's particularly important to what's happening in the world right now. Like, Anakin is literally a good kid who fell down the alt-right pipeline and had Palpatine telling him, like, no man, you're a Giga Chad. It's them. They're holding you back, actually, and just pumping him up, you deserve all of this. You should own all of this. And then that person gets really inflated and all this stuff. And I feel like we're supposed to learn that's a bad idea, right? We're supposed to watch. I was even pulling up some of the quotes, like from a book. When did his words go into this? 2018. Describing literally what's happening right now, this year, he's like, I wanted to show how democracy falls, and he even cites like, if you try to get rid of the migrants, then all of a sudden you're going to have problems with all the farmers in the Midwest, and like he literally just talks about everything happening right now.
Yeah,
and I feel like if we, I feel like it makes us miss the whole purpose, of like, okay, I get where he's come, and I think the problem is too many people just identified with him so much that they're like, oh, well, then everyone against him is bad. I hear people literally quoting Palpatine's lies as reasoning against the Jedi, which is insane to me. But yeah, that's.
I mean, yeah, no, I mean, the thing about so like using the metaphor you were using about like the alt-right pipeline and all that, and young men and being tricked into whatever they do, misogyny and hate and racism or whatever it is that they're being tricked into believing. The approach that I'm making is understanding why they would even fall for that, right? There's something missing. So like, I remember in your final video that you made, I think you did mention the Duel of Fates with Qui-Gon. Like the fact that there is no mentor and that there's this vacancy and there's someone who can step in and say, hey, I could manipulate this kid, and whatever I tell him, there's no one else to tell him that I'm wrong, so he's gonna believe in me. Everybody is showing distrust in him. If I just pretend to actually like this kid and trust him and believe in him and make him feel special, like I said, just like how young men, it's easy to be like, listen, you don't have to feel guilty for being attracted to women or whatever. And it's like, nobody said that, right? You're misinterpreting what people are mentioning. It's wrong for you to harass women, right? It's wrong for you to feel entitled to a woman, right? That's the conversation. But then if you don't have a positive male figure in your life to say, you can respect women and be a man and be comfortable in your masculinity. Both things can happen. It's not a war between genders, right? Same way with Anakin. He didn't have a mentor because Qui-Gon was beaten. The Duel of Fates turned out how it turned out, right? Like, so even if there is choice, which I do concede there is choice, was it not set in stone? Not set in stone, but we're on that path now. Once his Qui-Gon got stuck in the chest, it was like, okay, we're in the shitty ass path where he's gonna get manipulated. No one's on his side except for his brother, but even his brother can't do all of this.
I think that I do think he had that mentor. I think that watching the Clone Wars shows us like there's one thing they did really well in the Clone Wars, and there's one thing I think they did really, really poorly when it came to Anakin that actually negatively affects everything. Yeah. But even though Obi-Wan wasn't the father figure that Qui-Gon should have been, we have his direct conversations. We have Obi-Wan telling him like, hey, these feelings are normal and natural. We just don't let them control us. And then he watched Obi-Wan with Satine and understand that Obi-Wan knows what it is to be in love with someone and to make a choice. Like Obi-Wan made it clear. It's like, to Satine, if you had asked me to, I would have left the Jedi Order for you. Mm-hmm. And in that same, and that's the other part. Anakin knows you can leave the Jedi Order if you don't want to live this life. If you don't want to do these things, that's fine. You don't have to. And you know how I know he knows it? His Padawan left it. His like, and none of this stuff is and this kind of brings me to something else that kind of bothers me is there's just such a profound misunderstanding when it comes to the concept of the Jedi practicing non-attachment, right? Mm-hmm. People look at the word attachment and then they are like, oh, okay, so you can't have feelings, you can't love people or whatever because those are attachments. And you're like, no, the Jedi practice non-attachment. That is different than not being attached to anything in your life. It's actually the exact opposite. And I would actually go so far as to say that the practice of non-attachment is the light side. Literally is. If there's a a panel where Depa Billaba is teaching young, Caleb Doom, and she's like, "There's nothing wrong with loving these things or having fun. You just don't grow too fond and so attached to these feelings that you lose yourself in the process." We have Qui-Gon saying, "Don't focus on the future at the expense of the moment." The whole practice of non-attachment is to understand that, like, literally Anakin's mom, Shmi, taught him non-attachment. She's like, "You can't stop change from happening any more than you can stop the suns from setting." Those were his lessons, and he decided, "No, I'm gonna do that though," And so the thought that he didn't have any good examples, or that the Jedi didn't teach him, he tells Padme directly what the Jedi believe. He's like, "We're actually encouraged to love." It's just that it's the possession portion of it that's forbidden.
Yeah.
And people hear that and they're like, "Oh, he was just trying to riz her up." And we're like,
Yeah.
but that's what they believe. That's what they teach. You know what I mean? Even if
Yeah,
you were to go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think a good metaphor for people to understand the attachment angle is like Avatar: The Last Airbender. We were talking about it with Guru Patik and that whole situation where he was telling Aang, "You need to you can have people that you love, but learn to be okay with letting them go. Like their loss can't make you turn to evil, right? You can't let that destroy your entire life. You need to be comfortable loving something and also letting it get away from you." And that's what he means, I think.
Yeah. And Obi-Wan had Satine die in his arms, and he didn't become a Sith Lord.
Exactly.
And then the person who killed her also died in his arms, and he didn't celebrate. He was. Yeah.
I want to bring in something that one of the monsters, Cubcos Cantina, has said as part of this discussion. I also want to bring in a longtime viewer, Batosai the Manslayer, who's been wanting to call in for a couple of weeks now. So. Really quickly, Cubcos says, "There's still free will and always a choice. Life isn't a chess game where you have to make a move, even if it's been set up by your opponent to be a losing move. In real life, you can flip the board." And in a sense, like everything that we are today and where we have ended up has always been an amalgamation of the choices we have made. And when it comes to like people saying I'm a self-made man, or like, I've made it this far by myself, that's a lie. Like, we've made these choices in spite of external factors that influence you, your experiences, who taught you in school. And so even if there are, people trying to manipulate you like Palpatine, and people trying to be a good influence on you, we still have to make these choices. And in bringing up Attack of the Clones, because we had a watch party for it last night, there are so many times where Anakin displays good judgment because he cites, yes, of course, Obi-Wan's like a father to me, right? After having a conversation with Palpatine, every single time he has a conversation with Palpatine, he comes back to Padme. It's all his fault, And so, like, there's real steering happening here, where you see Anakin's like, "Yeah, I love it. I love Obi-Wan. He's like my father, really a brother," but he says it like dialogue wise. But then you see the steering that's happening with Palpatine.
Can I also add something real quick to that?
Yeah.
In Revenge of the Sith, there are so many times where, Padme's like, "Oh, well, let's ask." Oh, he's like, "No, I don't want to hear anything about Obi-Wan." And you're like, that was a delivery. But
yeah.
Those go hand in hand, because he knows Obi-Wan's gonna tell him, like, are you stupid? He's like, I don't want to hear what's right.
Well, the thing, like I said, for me, I think where my point really comes from, and I think the misunderstanding for a lot of people, like in the comments or whatever, and even this conversation we're having here, is I don't want it to sound like I'm saying Anakin is stupid or Anakin is whatever. That the idea is, I don't think we should look at Anakin's fall to the dark side as Anakin made a mistake, he fucked up, he made the wrong decision. there was this extremely smart man who had extreme success manipulating this child who was vulnerable. I don't think we should look at Anakin's fall as it's his fault. It's no, this guy's fucking good. This guy's good at being bad, and it's his fault, right? Doesn't excuse that Darth Vader killed children and was a genocidal maniac and was choking people from across the room and across the starship. None of that is excused. But also, you can recognize, like, him falling to the dark side isn't because Anakin's an idiot, not because he, made every wrong decision. Yeah, he made wrong decisions, but again, my point that I was saying before about you guys, being Lord Masters and understanding the character is like, we know that Anakin makes good decisions. We know he's a good person, and even Padme says there's goodness in him, even when he's done the worst possible things. Someone is forcing him or manipulating him to be doing bad things that he wouldn't otherwise do. Right, he has a positive figure, like I said, Obi-Wan Kenobi, but he has this person who's so fucking disgustingly good at manipulating him. He's thinking, hey, that person who cares about you, he doesn't care about you actually, and it's working. It's like, what the fuck? How is this guy in your head? That's Palpatine's success. It's not Anakin's failure as much as his success.
Well, that's the whole tragedy. That's the whole tragedy of it.
Yeah, and we see it in kids today. Of like, your mom and dad love you, but you're on 4chan, like making edgy jokes. And then I also sorry, I'm going to bring it to you, Bato-sai, but I mentioned this earlier and I never came back to it. That's one of the biggest failings I think in the Clone Wars is they never made Anakin live with negative consequences of his actions. You know what I mean? Like, he never wiped R2D2, which we love R2D2, right? Yeah. I'm not hating on R2D2, but when R2D2 got lost, he had to do everything he can to get him back. And in that quest, he left his Padawan to fight Dooku alone. You know what I mean? Like, that is insane. Like, and that just, like, no one, we just don't talk about it, don't care about, like, he does a lot of stuff that was really crappy, but the show doesn't actually like say, yeah, it was actually bad to leave this child to solo one of the greatest Jedi killers of all time.
Yeah,
that's weird.
All right, Bato-sai, welcome
Great
to the
to
show.
Meet you.
Hello.
So,
hi guys, can you hear me okay? Can you
Yeah.
hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, first than all, thank you very much for having me. I have been a fan of your podcast, your channel, for a long time, precisely because of the good discussion, the good faith discussion, and I really appreciate what you do for the community, because there is so much talk around, online, and Lucas always said this stuff is not just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but there is actually a logic to it, and you can think about it and make sense of it. And I think you guys do precisely that, and I am very thankful for it.
And I'm thankful for you for, having us back when it's right, or calling us out when we miss something or wrong. I appreciate that. He's
what
been holding it down on Twitter.
What accent am I
Yeah,
hearing?
for sure. I am from Chile. I am from Latin America. So
Shout out to Chile.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Shout out. So my English is, I hope, good enough for this kind of conversation.
Yeah, you're great. You're doing great.
Your English is
really
better than
excited
Star Wars
about
Theory.
That's good. Well, just to kick out the topic, I just want to say this quote that we spoke about last week, that Lucas said the wheels are animals, and I think this is a key starting point for this discussion, because animals, of course, the big difference with human beings is the lack of rational, capacity in the sense that we humans do have. Sorry. So that is a really interesting choice from his part, and totally in line with his ideas from my point of view, because what he's saying is that these are animals that are acting on instinct. They are not moral beings like let's say, what happens in the Christian faith, where God is a moral will, So the wills in the universe of George Lucas, they are actually animals that are acting on instinct. They are creating life in order to fed off the living force. So it's really interesting that, and it's kind of crude, that you guys said earlier, they probably don't care in the micro landscape of things if that child died or something happened. They are in the long-term view of the universe and galactic timeline. And I think that's a depressive thought in a way, but in another way, it's actually part of the Lucas philosophy that you have to accept what it is, which is, of course, the Jedi point of view that you guys have explained many times really well. Accepting the things as they are, learning to let go of things, and of course, in opposition to that, we have the Sith point of view, which Element said the other day, why Sith are so
Appealing.
Relatable. Yeah, appealing, relatable. Yeah, and it's because they are in a way incarnating the most humanistic, of the experience, which is the pain of things are this way, and for whatever reason I cannot accept that, and I struggle with that. And in totally Sith fashion, I will oppress everyone around and try to change the reality that it is for the reality that I want, And especially in The Last Jedi, I would say, this is, I think, like I said before, one of the reasons that I think a mature Luke Skywalker with experience and wisdom probably realize, and of course is totally consistent with the actual plot of the movie, right? Because when you realize about, okay, my choices, face value, probably don't matter because the force, the wills, always will always win. You of course have the issue that, well, what does it matter, And probably if I see the long history of the Jedi Order, we have probably done more wrong than good. So it connects flawlessly with the plot of TLJ. I don't know what you guys think of what I have said this far.
I actually love it because it actually matches up, honestly, like one-to-one with just Force lore, right? It's think or don't think, feel, use your instincts, right? And from a naturalistic point of view, the wills being animals is essentially correct because for the most part, animals coexisting with humans is just like they just want to live in harmony in their ecosystems. They have predators of their own, and they have prey of their own, and they go through their cycle of life and death.
Yeah.
And sometimes humans dam up the river. Sometimes humans will, cause a negative effect on that ecosystem, whether it's intentional or unintentional. And so that's kind of like the relationship with the galaxy and the force, right? The living force created by life fuels the cosmic force, which connects the force across the galaxy and renews the living force. And it's interesting that you brought up that some people might think, well, maybe because the will of the force will always win out. What does it matter?
Yeah.
Those are the moments where people choose to do nothing and the galaxy gets thrown into out of balance.
Absolutely. It's not the same a galaxy, a timeline with a galactic empire and a timeline without it, because for us in the micro point of view of things, in our day to day, these choices, of course, matters. People that we care about suffers, and of course, the one of the main messages of Star Wars is this idea of symbiosis, right? That, of course, Lucas presented in episode 1. We are all part of this cosmic symbiosis in which the wheels create the midichlorians that allow the cellular division to create life. Life is a wonderful thing, has a lot of good things in it.
I'm fond of it.
Yeah, of course. And of course, at the same time, we as human beings, of course, like you, Choco, said before, you can only go so far without a tribe, right? That's what he said in the book of Boba Fett, because that's true. Our economy, our history is about humans relating to each other, helping to each other, and try to make the best out of that interactions, right? But that's the way it is, because you need two to create life. A second, you cannot. We are not bacteria. That's the point.
Yeah. And then also with what you said about the wills, being animals, but they're on this microscopic scale. I love that, because after you sent me the portion on Twitter, I had to go find it in the book, which I also had to go find just now. But it's so good, and it's like, we're afraid we're going to destroy the Earth. It's like, well, we can't destroy the Earth. We can end all life on the Earth. Like,
of course,
it's not the Earth's problem; it's our problem. Like,
life will always find the way, right? That's what Ian Malcolm said in Jurassic Park, and that's the thing. You cannot. Life will always prevail.
Yeah, it's funny that we're talking about this, because that was kind of our conversation too. That when we were talking about free will, where if everything you do leads to the same conclusion, did you have free will? And I mean, I think it's possible. But when we were talking about, why am I forgetting my own words? The deterministic free will, the idea that you do have free will and you can choose how you get to where you're going, but it may be set, but it doesn't mean you didn't have free will and how to get there in the moment that you were living it.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a very interesting part of the discussion. I actually kind of align a little more with Dyad, the Dyad guys, Element and Choco, in the way that Lucas also said the wheels shape reality, and that they are a metaphor in the narrative sense of God, and we know the characteristic that we attribute to the concept of God as something that is transcendent, out of time, out of space. So the way I see personally, there is not a prevalence of one or the other concept. I mean, there is not a determination or just free will. There is like some sort of dance, I would say, in which your choices that are shaping the present all the time are actually, working with the cosmic scale of things. It's like you can, from the point of view of the wheels, the choices are yours, but they have seen all the outcomes and they are prepared to win in every timeline, let's say. So the choice is yours and it's there and it matters. And the Star Wars has shown us that there are moments in which a different choice would have made a different consequence, for the story and for the characters. And that is not something, and that's the great thing, that in a way you are kind of trapped in this game, of these microscopic entities, and you can actually relate to the frustration of the seed in which, okay, I want to use this and broke the chains, break the chains, have true free will, in the sense that you are out of this cosmic game. But I think it's some sort of a little play of both, it's like when you are studying for an exam, you can choose right now to study and prepare for it, and probably that future will be, or the future of a good grade would be more probable, but if you prepare all the way, and the day before you just sleep through, and you miss the chance. Of course, the future has changed, and Yoda has set up that precisely in The Empire Strikes Back, when always in motion is the future, right? I mean, there are like, and Palpatine also said that in Rebels, there are infinite paths and possibilities. You know, we are something. It's like we are creating all possible timelines with every choice that we are making. And for us, that matters. But from the point of view of the wheels, which are in a microscopic but cosmic scale, in the long term, that doesn't have a big impact. Perhaps, you know, it takes time because, of course, because of the decisions that Anakin made. Only through the story of Luke and all of that took 20 years for the characters in the story, but probably that is just a second in the time perception of the wheels, right?
Yeah, and that
Yeah, I mean,
goes.
And that's why and that's why I always call back to the from a certain point of view master and apprentice story where
Dyad.
Force Ghost Qui-Gon, you know, pops
Qui-Gon.
up and he's like, I know exactly what's going to happen. I know Obi-Wan's going to be walking off into his death. I want to encourage him, but he's also aware I can't tell him what's going to happen. If I tell him what's going to happen, he might not do the thing. You know, and that even that can affect it, and that's why. And this concept of the Force electing people and kind of putting its thumb on the scale in favor of life
Absolutely.
kind of fixes one of the things that actually bothers me, which is in Empire Strikes Back when Obi-Wan pops up and he's like, go to the Dagobah system. And you're like, that's hella exposition. Like, what? First of all, he can do that. He just tells him where to go. He's never even heard of this. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, that's just bad writing. But with the advent of that little story, you're like, no, the Wills understood. In order to try and move this ball up the field, we got to connect these two people. This is the best way I know how to do it. And he's like almost dying, so he may not even know that he got this idea from me. I think now, I think I can do that. You know what I mean? So I think it's cool how
it
they
totally-
poke and prod it.
It totally adds a lot of weight to this always in motion is the future, right? Because the future we see is, of course, a mix of the decisions we make and the decisions other people make and the decisions in your orbit of people who can affect the outcome of a decision you make. You can make a decision right now to go for that promotion, and then the person in your orbit that's in charge of that will totally screw you over. And so this is the dance that you're talking about with Palpatine, Obi-Wan, Anakin. Anakin can make a right decision here. Padme can pass an act in the Senate. Now it's Palpatine's turn to react to it. In the same way in the Clone Wars, Shaak-Ti and Fives find out about the chip. And then Palpatine's like, fuck. so he frames Fives. He tried to assassinate me and make sure people kill Fives. And so this truth is buried. And so very much a dance. Like the Wills see all of these possible futures. Always in motion is the future. Qui-Gon sees this future. He's like, I don't know if I should do anything. We'll let it go. And then Obi-Wan says, go to Dagobah. And then in Return of the Jedi, I cannot interfere. So like, I feel like there are moments in Star Wars where the people who have the foresight are like also dancing around. Do I nudge it? Do I interfere? Like, and then this goes with Luke in Rise of Skywalker. He's like, no, for sure I need to like show up here right now and catch this lightsaber. But again, it doesn't erase the amount of control that you have over what you can affect in the story.
What you can affect, and what is so great also about Star Wars is that it's not just the main characters, but of course everyone, because everyone in a way is a vessel, you know, for the wheels in a way, because like Lucas have said also, everyone has midi-chlorians because that's what allows life, but some people have a little higher number and they can use the physical abilities of this energy, but they are all, everyone in the galaxy are in some sort of sense in contact
Absolutely, Nemo.
with this higher instinctive will, an animal will, have like we have said until now, and even characters like Jar Jar Binks, which is sometimes mock, but is the same idea. That line of Gandalf in The Hobbit, when he's talking with Galadriel, and Galadriel asks him why the Hobbit, right? Why people Bilbo Baggins, and Gandalf says, it's the
It's 'cause he
small things,
sucks.
the everyday, yeah, because his small feet. No, but it's because of the ordinary people choices day to day, that influence the people around, because the way that throw out the force out of balance, this is the seed, but it's not like you guys have explained amazingly before. It's not just the mere existence of them, it's their actual actions, because they create wars, they create conflicts, and of course they make death, they provoke those deaths that are not naturally in order to that moment. And that, of course, is a reduction of the living force around. So
They try to defeat death as well.
yeah,
Well,
of course. And who is participating in those conflicts is the people that pull the trigger. There is an amazing movie called Babel, which also talks about this idea that everything is interconnected. Our choice here makes a powerful effect on the other side of the world in ways that we are not conscious all the time. And I think that is kind of a problem of the Star Wars community, that sometimes we are so immersed in this particular story and we have no interaction with other stories and other books perhaps, or other kind of stories. We are not exposed to a bigger understanding, and
That's why I always say that the Chosen One title is always, narratively speaking, is always a title of purpose, not function, right? Harry Potter was not the strongest wizard. He was definitely not stronger than Voldemort, but he had the wand that was the natural counter, right? And so, in a sense, Anakin wasn't even the most powerful. He got mogged on the daily by Palpatine. But it would be his connection to his son. It would be because his son is now challenging the Emperor that he found the power to not obey. Right?
And what were you gonna say, Jay?
I was going to say that, I mean, this is kind of where the paradox of my conversation kind of started, where my initial video was that one thing that I love about Star Wars is there's so many points of view that if you don't pay attention, you don't realize that no one's perfect, right? That people can be wrong. Even people like Yoda, even people, like Anakin, Luke, everybody can be wrong, right? So then for me, even when I said this in my final response, when we were talking about how Yoda and multiple people have said, the future is always in motion. It's not set in stone. It changes. It's in flux. I mentioned how Yoda did not know that the prophecy was true, right? That the paradox of Star Wars is that there is absolutely free will, right? Like George Lucas, we all agree that George Lucas said that there's free will, that there is no predetermined path for every single person. There's suggestions, there's things that they could do, there's possible futures that they could fall into, bad ones and good ones. But then the wrench gets thrown in it because it's a prophecy, and a prophecy that is absolutely 100% true, that it turns out couldn't have been avoided. So people like Palpatine who worked their entire life to say, oh, no, the future's in flux. It can change. I can change the prophecy. If I keep the chosen one, whatever the fuck that means, doesn't matter. If I keep him as my pet and I keep him down and I keep him next to me and I watch him, he can't fulfill this prophecy, and the future can change as it always does. And then it turns out this is the one example of a situation that was foretold by the Force, or sorry, an ancient Force user, that's absolutely true. So this throws a wrench in free will, because free will has to be absolute. It has to be like, for us in this world that we live in Earth and everything, there has never been a prophecy that was 100% accurately told that we're like, holy shit, wait, is our life told somewhere? Is it written down? But then there's Star Wars, where there's a meta explanation that, like, I laughed when you made your final video. There was a one thing that you didn't, it wasn't a joke when you said it, Element, but when you said, the people's lives in Star Wars are not scripted, they're not following a script, when it's like, they actually are, like, because they are written down. There's a fictional story written down by George Lucas, but that's the meta, right? That's the meta, that's the bullshit excuse. But like, actually they are written down, but then in lore, there was a real prophecy that people don't remember exactly who it comes from, that was 100% true, and it was told, it's so far in the past, nobody knows who said it, and it ended up being exactly 100% true. Where it's like, wait a minute, even Yoda, who didn't live to see it, would have been like, wait, I thought the future was in motion, we can stop it, why, how could, and even a character like Obi-Wan, who we know was like the ultimate wisdom by the end of, or one of the ultimate wisdom points in Star Wars by the original trilogy, or in Rebels, when Maul asked him, I remember that was a big contention point for the fan base, when Maul said, is he the chosen one? He said, yes. No, he's not. But Obi-Wan is like, he must be,
point of view,
it
right?
Wasn't. Right, he's wrong. But then,
because absolutely, Obi-Wan believes. Well, also, I think Obi-Wan has to believe, like, regardless of, it's like, my life is ruined if this is not the chosen one. I've devoted my life here, so yeah, I'm all in.
I mean, like I said, just to finish on my point, I just wanted to say, like they are all working with the assumption that, oh, there's a prophecy and it's going to be true, but then it ends up not being true in their eyes, and then after their lives are over, oh, it is true. Oh wait, so the future isn't always moving. There is. So I think, like I said, I wasn't ever saying that every single moment of Star Wars is written, but there is some paradoxical idea that there is at least one thing we know for sure that was written down, that was always going to happen, that it wasn't in flux, that it wasn't a force mission that could be avoided. Tons of people tried to avoid it and couldn't. So there was one thing that was absolutely written. So then it's not absolute free will, but it's not every single moment is written down. So it might as well be free will.
Well, so here's where the hang up is happening. What do you mean by the prophecy is true?
As in, it ended up being true.
What makes the prophecy true?
That the Force became sick, and that a chosen one was born of no father and did bring balance to the Force.
None of that is in the prophecy, though. It just says a chosen one will come, born of no father, and through him, ultimate balance will be restored. The thing,
and even George Lucas confirmed that Anakin Skywalker is the chosen one, which means the prophecy is true. So
here's the thing, though. The thing that makes the prophecy true is that Anakin restored balance. It doesn't. Yes. It doesn't therefore, ipso facto, say what he did leading up to it makes it true. He brought balance. Mm-hmm. That makes a prophecy true. When it comes to visions are prophetic in nature. That Jedi mystic that made that vision, that had that vision, became a prophecy because of the scale of things. But every day, people that are connected to the Force have visions. It's prophetic in nature, but it still requires that you act on the knowledge that how you act with this knowledge, how people react to that knowledge, and how people react to you acting on that knowledge is what shapes the specific future that's going to come about at the end. But it's not to say prophetically that everything you have done is because that vision has come true, right?
Yeah, I mean, so, I think my point too was that, like when we said earlier, where we said how if the end result is always going to be the same, did you have free will? Some people in my comments were talking about, if you play a video game that's multiple choice or like open ended, but no matter what you do, you end up with the same ending as everybody else. Is it actually a multiple choice game, or are you just going to the same spot? So like my thing is, at least you keep talking, but do you believe that the prophecy that it could have been avoided, like the Sith could have won and just ruined the whole entire world? They could have.
Not that it could have been avoided. I believe that the prophecy could have been true any number of ways. If he finds out Palpatine is the Sith Lord he's been looking for, he says, "Do you want to kill me?" And he says, "Yes," and then kills him. Prophecy true.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then in the chambers with Mace Windu, he's like, "He's too powerful to be left alive. You must choose." He's like, "Oh, okay," and kills Palpatine. Prophecy true.
Right.
The vision that Luke has on Dagobah about his friends being hurt, his vision, he changed it. But his vision was still true. They were still in pain. The thing he changed was Leia didn't end up in pain. He lost his hand. But the vision he had was his friends are in pain. So by interrupting his training, he put himself in the way of what Leia would have experienced in one of those futures. So and I think this is where kind of like the dance that Batosai was talking about in terms of like free will is happening here, is that yes, you can choose to act, you can choose different paths, you can enact a certain, behavior that changes the course of things, but there's also other people making choices and reacting to what you've done that also shapes that future that comes about. And so the prophecy being true does not mean that everything that he did was meant to happen. The prophecy being true is that Anakin did restore balance. And this brings me back to George Lucas's quote where he says he could have chose to bring balance with Mace, but because he chose wrong, it took 20 more years. Yeah. And that really, what it says to me is the choice he made meant that the prophecy was just going to happen at a later date.
That's right.
I mean, that's our disconnect, is that for me, I don't see any universe, any existence where Anakin could have made that choice, where he could have said, "Oh, you're the Sith Lord. I'm going to kill you now," because everything before that moment made sure Palpatine knew he's not going to touch me. This kid, I already have him wrapped around my fingers. It's too late. No one's going to stop me. This kid is mine, right?
I would say that's probability. That's probability because of what you have said. I would say that's probability, but ultimately the choice, the configuration of reality is that he could have. Of course, there has been manipulation at work, and a lot of probability, but ultimately the responsibility is his, and that's the realization that we get in Obi-Wan Kenobi series when he says, I did, because of course we sympathize, we get a lot of understanding about Anakin's story, but ultimately he made the choice. He's alone, and of course influence, but ultimately responsible because of the existence of free will. And what I think is interesting also when we talk about balance, Choco, I think, said it earlier, that what is our purpose, because always fulfill your destiny. And we know about according to this understanding of what have we talked today, that the wheels reality, promote life, and our destiny is the participation on that natural cycle of life, of life and death, and we can serve that cycle, that cosmic symbiosis, through our careers, our daily talks with people, our small acts of charity, kindness. And because, of course, Anakin, in the understanding that he was sent by the wheels, is that he has some knowledge or his story has some meaning that actually has the core of the message of Star Wars. And it's precisely what Choco said when watching Attack of the Clones, when he redefines what the difference of the understanding of love of the Jedi Order and what he understands because of we are encouraged to love, you know. And in the Clone Wars, at the end, Yoda says we may not find victory in the Clone Wars, but victory for all times. There is some sort of plan in motion that will allow that compassion, that unconditional love, which is the understanding of the other, you know. And that's why Star Wars is also a redemption tale for the soul, you know. It's not about law
I
and
like
order
that.
and consequence.
It's the
You
County
know?
Monte Cristo, but for hope.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, of course. It's the Count of Monte Cristo, is Christianity, is all these big stories
I mean,
that have been told.
agape. Yeah.
Absolutely, agape, you know. And I think that is what the sequels, that specifically era, should be the era of the answers, which sometimes Star Wars is not so good at, you know, in giving the explicit answers. And that's why some people have issues or not a good understanding of what this could mean. But actually, I find that in the interaction of Rey and Kylo Ren, you know, Ben Solo, there is some sort of magic at play, which is the idea of putting our differences aside, loving each other, you know. In that particular situation is a romantic love, perhaps, but it's the idea of working together. Let's work, let's cooperate with the things the way are, the big cycle of life, the cosmic symbiosis that we are just immersing, you know. There isn't. Okay, I am talking too much. Sorry.
No,
Always
no,
happens to me with that.
I love it, but like, sorry, there's two things that come to mind for me. One, Bottom Sign Jay, have you guys read the novelization of Revenge of the Sith?
No.
No, I have not read the novelization.
Okay, please read it. Listen, if you already love that movie,
Yeah,
it makes
sure.
it like 6 times better, 3 to 6 times better. If you hate it, it makes it 10 times better. I swear to God. But the way it ends is so cold because throughout the book he keeps referring to this ice dragon that is like in his heart, and it's like representative like a cold dead star that's just above, like, you know, 1 degree. And Anakin is almost like fearful of it, and then he embraces it, and that's when he becomes Vader. And then the story ends with, and then there is one blazing moment in which you finally understand there was no dragon, that there was no Vader, that there was only you, Anakin Skywalker. And like the way you're just like, ah, man, it's just metal.
Bars.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I think about Anakin Skywalker, again, when we relate it, kind of like what you were saying. Sorry, is it Batose?
Call me Manslayer.
Okay, Manslayer. Yeah.
No worries.
How you were kind of explaining about, like, you know, life and, you know, how it relates to it. Anakin Skywalker, my whole opinion on the concept of, you know, he could have made a decision here. Like I said, I'm not gonna say we're saying coulda, woulda, shoulda, but he could have made this decision here. He could have done this. I think it kind of cheapens the idea that, okay, he didn't do those things, and so we should kind of think about what he did do and think about him as a man, as a person, and saying, hey, this dude making mistakes, and that's okay. He's not perfect. He's a person, right? Genocide is more than a mistake, and child murder is really bad. This guy's fucking, something's wrong here, right? And that's the thing, is it's like a bigger commentary on like mental illness, where it's like, dude, you should have done this. I didn't do it though. Yeah, but you could have. Okay, but I didn't though, right? And I get it. Like, I understand that there are other ways that it could have gone, and I agree. There's things that again, if we're having that hypothetical conversation, absolutely, I say, Anakin, you should have done it better. You should have been able to see this dude is a weird. First of all, Palpatine's ugly as fuck, right? This dude is creepy. He's standing in the shadows every time he's talking to you. You shouldn't be listening to any fucking thing he's saying to you. That's first of all. But it's okay, the faults in Anakin's characters, like the loss of his mother and the emptiness, losing Qui-Gon and not having the mentor, and all these unfortunate things that weigh down on his spirit. I'm just like, for me to say, Anakin, you could have done this, you should have done this at this point, for me it's like, it's better to be like, listen, I like the idea that you fell and that you became this horrible piece of shit that we all agree it's not good, you should still go to jail, but then at the end you were able to at least admit it. And I think, like I said, you mentioned that in one of your videos, Element, that you said Anakin. We say the word redeemed, and it's like that doesn't mean, oh, okay, you know what? It's okay you killed those children. It's fine. You made up for it. No, you didn't
he's
make
not
up for it.
absolved.
There's a hell.
But,
there's a hell you're going, right? You're going there, unfortunately. But thank you for doing something to kind of move, to shift it to the other direction, because you did a lot of wrong, right?
For sure.
That's my thing, is that I just feel like I don't want to shift that it shouldn't be what Anakin should have done. It's like, this dude is horrible. What he did was horrible. Let's see how he deals with it, and let's talk about like what. Yes, you were wrong, and you could have done these things, but you didn't, and now this is the reality of it, right? And then
and I
watch him move out of that.
I agree, but that's that to me is what makes it like it's a benefit, right? It's a feature. There is a lot of places he could have made better decisions, but this was a linchpin moment. The right choice is right there. He chose himself, and I get it. Like we fall. In the end, he makes the right choice. You know,
Zuko's in
and it's like,
no, I don't want to make it, like I said, personal.
But it's like
Choco,
it's the choice. It's the choice to do better.
Yeah, like,
And
I had family members, like you said, when you shared that personal thing about your family. Like, I've had family members that were, fell into drugs, and it's the idea of, let's not be mad at them for making a wrong decision. Yes, you shouldn't do. I can't say the word. You shouldn't do that one that starts with C, or the one that starts with H, or the one that starts with any of those. Don't do those. You shouldn't have done that. But okay, you did it. It's not too late for you. You can redeem yourself. You can redeem the things that you've done. Even though
and both are true. Yeah. That's why one trilogy is about one, another trilogy is about the other. You know?
And the redemption is spiritual. It's for him. And of course, there some good came out of it, but that doesn't mean consequence and responsibility in the material world, right? But this story is not about precisely about those topics, which of course are part of reality, and that is why I find so interesting the possibility of Ben Solo, because he could have explored precisely what does it look like, and I have always think about him precisely like Batosai the Manslayer from Rurouni Kenshin, someone that has a total resolve in not probably taking his sword out, never again to take life, and some sort of expiation, redemption, or atonement. That's the word that it is used, and precisely to look on that. And the great thing about Star Wars is that there is so much here you can see how all the reality is connected, because you have the analysis of what is happening in the conscience of the individual. And at the same time, the consequence in the collective, you have Andor, when you can explore the systems, the structure, the political structures of it. There is so much you can tackle in this franchise, and that's why it is so controversial. Or no, the word is not controversial, but there is a lot of talk around it, because it's a battleground that for the people that discovers Star Wars, it has everything in it. It's everything, and in the right amount of deepness, that you can go into these topics. I
have a couple.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just a couple of really, really short points. One. I actually do need a full ranking from both of you guys. If you can type it into the chat here. Every person we have on, we get their full ranking, and I add it to a list, and so we have a collective ranking. So I'd love to add you guys to that. Number two, just something we kind of passed by, is that Cassian Andor is the best tool of the Force, and the episode where the Force lady was like, "Oh, you're collecting all of these things," and like she can see it, that was amazing. Number three, to me, fate in Star Wars is essentially what I mentioned in episode 5, right? Obi-Wan popping up to Luke saying, "Go to the Dagobah system." It is people whose consciousnesses have become part of the will of the Force putting their thumb on the scale to try and head towards an outcome. And so, to me, the question I have to ask, right? Luke said in The Last Jedi, he sequestered himself and he was like, "I want the light to rise from a more worthy source."
Yeah.
And so he cut himself off from the Force, right? How often do you think, like, a Force ghost or whatever was hanging around, like, "Come on, man," like, oh, just like pay attention, you know, like. I don't know. I picture Force Ghosts hanging around all the time, waiting for him to reconnect, like, so they can like try and get him back in. And they're like, "Okay,
But
let's
it
go,
did.
Ray. Let's go, Ray. We're gonna bring her back there." And then that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, now it's
And
those
that's-
people's choice to listen or not to
Of course.
those. And you have people like, you know, Cassian, who would obviously be too weak to actually understand anyone was doing anything. But that's kind of how I picture what fate is like people putting their thumb on the scale a little bit, but like, if I tell them too much, they may do the opposite. Maybe they'll get scared, run off, and get killed, and then I have to go find someone else. You know, like that's all.
I think that connects very interestingly with Qui-Gon Jinn, you know, which of course we know that is this wise character that is ahead of his time, and is really good how he connects with Obi-Wan, of course, and also with Luke at the end of TLJ, because the lessons that both of these characters have to learn is to be present, you know, and to trust in the living force. Because when, of course, with Obi-Wan is more clear until now, because we have more story about him. When he, in episode 1, you know, he's always complaining why we have to hop along, you know, Jar Jar Binks, this pathetic creature, or Anakin, and he kind of underestimates, you know, life, because of course he has this kind of high attitude because of his part of the Jedi Order and all of that. And Qui-Gon is saying, no, these people matters, you know, and Anakin matters the hell out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and is actually in the in Revenge of the Sith, when he has the battle with Anakin, to me is like Obi-Wan is actually acting on duty, you know, in on duty and what he must do, and not acting on his nature, which is my compassionate nature, that I have to be there for my friend which has fallen, you know. And probably he, in that moment, the way he acts, he pushes Anakin even farther to the dark side, you know, because of course he closes every chance of. I think we have all seen Revenge of the Sith thinking, oh my God, can someone tell a kind word to Anakin? Perhaps this time the movie won't end the same tragic way. But in the end of the Obi-Wan series, you know, when he's actually repeating the beats of Revenge of the Sith, when he sees Anakin, his face, you know, behind the mask, is the moment where he surrenders these big ideas, kind of the same way that Luke does in TLJ, the big ideas of what my duty is and what should I do to kind of fulfill the cosmic plan of things. And he actually earth himself and says, I am not going to do it. It's what Ahsoka does at the end of the Clone Wars, you know. Perhaps the clone should die, but I will not do it, you know. And I think Luke, at the end of TLJ, kind of goes to the same realization that despite my big ideas, I have to help I have to help Rey, which needs this guidance, and focus on the living force, let's say, kind of bringing full circle the teaching of Qui-Gon and Master and Apprentice. You guys have said it a lot, this beautiful quote of Qui-Gon: we chose the light because it's the light and not some. Come on, guys, do it. You can do it better than me.
And that's what makes what ifs so powerful, from like an analytical perspective and from like a fan perspective, a viewer perspective, because they want these stories to kind of explore them, right? Outside of the stories being told the way they were, the meta, this is how it was written, this is how it happened.
Yeah.
What if these characters chose differently? What if Andor heard the Force Priestess and was like, nah, fuck this, and then like bounced? Like, that was creepy. I'm not going to do this anymore. You know, how would that have changed Rogue One? You know, and as it relates to what Jordan said about, you know, Anakin, that is the tragedy of Anakin. Like, we're not trying to shift any blame or push it in any direction. Is through our analysis of the pros, we find the tragedy. We find that he could have made another decision, but we also recognize the amount of external pressure that is being applied to him from Palpatine, and a pressure coming from him from Padme, the pressure of losing his mother, and the pressure of, you know, the only family realistically he ever knew in Obi-Wan and the Jedi Order, and like the, you know, the expectations that they have on him, and then the expectations of the chosen one. And I like to point to the Mortis arc as well with this, where even the father recognizes he's the chosen one, but he has his own agenda about what that means. And then he's at the end, he's like, "Ah, crap, I was wrong. My heart aches because you are the chosen one. You have brought balance to my world. I suppose you're not supposed to replace me. We're gonna die now." And then, so, yeah, it is through our analysis as fans of the pros and of the story that creates the tragedy. So we do recognize like everything that Anakin is going through, but we also recognize that like certain events and certain moments could have played out differently, in which this could not have been a tragedy. You know what I mean?
Well, I think
Also, one thing, for what ifs, for the love of God, I need people to actually game out everything and not just the one thing. Like, I can't tell you how many times I have people who are like, "Man, well, if only the Jedi had brought Shmi, then Anakin wouldn't have fallen." And you're like, Palpatine is still there.
Yeah. Right.
Like, how many times did Palpatine throw Padme into the mix so she would almost die? Like, all that would happen is Palpatine would get Shmi killed, and then he turned faster, you know. And I'm, that it was that guy's whole thing. So for me, I'm always
the Jedi would rescue Shmi, and Palpatine would send something to intercept them, and then Anakin would be like, "It's all your fault." You know?
and that's the other part of it is, while like I don't believe this magical world that Qui-Gon would magically have fixed things, I do think Qui-Gon would have kept Anakin separated from Palpatine, and I think that would have saved him specifically. But I don't believe it's really any deeper than that, because Palpatine is an agent that is highly intelligent, whose goal is to turn this kid. So when you're like, oh man, if only the Jedi had like said this to him, if the Jedi said this to him, Palpatine would have said that to him.
Yeah, that's
like Palpatine is just trying to drive a wedge between him and the people who actually care about him. So it doesn't matter what the Jedi say.
Yeah.
He's going to say whatever it is to try and drive a wedge in there, and we know it's all going to be lies. Also, the KG in the chat, Tam Rivora in Resistance does have like a minor redemption arc in Star Wars that I like, but not everyone will make it that far into Resistance. but it is good. Also, and Erica Quell is another great example from Alphabet Squadron. Does a lot of bad stuff in the very beginning and just has to sit in it and live with it, and it sucks, but it's a really good book.
Nemo and Dex and Download just said Palpatine would have married Shmi.
Oh my God. He would have. I mean,
podcast over. You've ruined
it. The beautiful thing about this franchise is that it's a living myth, you know. With every piece of content, something else is added, some interpretation is enriched, and that is why I stayed up until 3 a.m. when Obi-Wan was streaming out, releasing date, because history has been in the making. You know, that precise moment that that show came out. You know, part of the mythology was created, and that's why I hate when people said, I don't have any tension watching, you know, Owen and Beru on that show because we know what happened to them. I mean, this is not Star Wars has always been like this, you know, when retroactively you are telling the story. Because Lucas said this is a story you watch in chronological order, and is told for future generations as well. It's precisely only for you that you have seen and know things, but also when you watch everything in order, you know, the moments will hit you harder precisely because of this retroactive storytelling.
Yeah.
And
Also,
if you're like, I don't want to watch like Amber Rue, then you missed out on her staying strapped. Like she was just at the end of Obi-Wan.
That's another thing because like rewatching Attack of the Clones, you realize Klieg is missing a leg, his wife is missing, and Owen's like, yeah, we're just gonna make eggs. I'm not gonna do anything to find your wife, my stepmother. Oh, Anakin, great timing. Like. He's just useless. Yeah. That's my head.
Well, yeah, my the point you made before, Choco, when you said about you know, what ifs and kind of thinking them through all the ways, is for me like I really do believe in George Lucas's script, right? I believe in the way that he made it turn out. But more so than that, like I think that like I feel like I've gone through all the possibilities, and in my mind, again, I don't see a situation where Anakin could have saved himself, where someone else could have stepped in or caught Palpatine and knew what he was doing. There was times where it was close, right? Like we won't go back to that, but we went over that before, where I just don't feel like that Anakin could have beaten Palpatine in his own game or caught him trying to manipulate him because he just wasn't in the mental state to do it. But not only that, I do believe that the way that it turned out makes the most sense for like the time period.
There's a meta narrative. There's a meta narrative explanation for that.
Yeah.
Like because 4, 5, and 6 were already written. Vader already existed.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
But also, the prophecy didn't exist when 4, 5, and 6 was written.
Exactly.
So George Lucas had no choice but to find a path to Vader. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm gonna stick to, because like, you know, he could have written the story lots of ways differently, ending up at Vader. But yeah, I just don't think that like it was outside of having to connect the two movies together. Like Rogue One really can't end any other way other than the Rebels successfully getting the plans. Otherwise it would have been like, okay, there must be a Rogue 2 then, right? Because like it failed. So
you mean he didn't have anything planned in advance?
No, he didn't. He didn't.
I think that was. It does make me wonder though if and I want to hear from both Batasai and Jay. If you could write your own story within the Star Wars universe, not necessarily about Anakin or the Chosen One or any of that stuff, but like if you would put your own story in there, what do you think you would do? Do you have any ideas?
I have.
Okay, all right.
I have always liked an idea of something like Hunting of the Red October post-episode Return of the Jedi, you know, with an Imperial Admiral, you know, trying to defect into the New Republic, and something with heavy interaction of Star Destroyers, you know, perhaps some sort of battle, you know. I have always think about an Imperial Star Destroyer falling down, you know, to the planet, and this admiral kind of making some maneuvers, and just before that the Star Destroyer hit the floor, it start to go down again with the Imperial March, something like that.
Oh man, it could be based around Operation Cinder. Like he's like, no,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think I actually saw a video of Element talking about this the other day, actually, or it might have been a month ago. I think that video was posted, but I don't know about like things that I would change myself, but I was really looking forward to and really bummed out about there not being a second season to Acolyte. I think that would have been, man, that would have really, really changed things. I didn't like Acolyte as a show, but as a lore builder, as a step towards something new, I was like, this is really incredible.
I always said the bones. It had the bones, you know?
Exactly.
We just needed to fill them out.
That second
The
season.
Acolyte is the most George Lucas project until today.
Yeah.
It pains my heart not to see that story continuing.
Yeah.
You know, it's right now is like I said the past week, an open wound because it's something that hurts the myth overall, and the reasons of why it's not kind of accepted, I think, is misunderstanding and totally bad faith. You know, because it's like how we talk all this night, the myth is always making itself, and Plagueis, of course, we know what he did, but we don't know how he did it, you know. And Star Wars has always moved and existed in that space, in the how, you know, and the possibility. So that to see Star Wars fans, like, of course, you know, Star Wars theory, kind of bad faith, talking about this and pushing this misunderstanding and bad faith takes, it just hurt Star Wars, and I cannot believe that someone like that could be a fan, you know.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, for me, it goes into
it was a sign of the times, really, because
Yeah.
for the most part, right, and when Choco and I talk about this all the time, the state of media consumption these days is the best or the worst, and it always comes down to one thing or another, right? You never, at least in our community, all the time, good faith conversations, discourse, but on that side of the fence, there's always one thing, like, it's like, so why was this the worst thing you've ever seen? Because of this thing. Like, so just that one thing, like, you didn't see anything else in that show or movie that could have been like, okay, it was okay. Right? And then we talk about Mandalorian and Grogu. The number one thing people says is like, nothing happened. I'm like, all right, elaborate. How did nothing happen?
Yeah.
And they can't really say anything because something happened.
They can.
No, I had a question for you guys.
That's the only
about-
that's the only things that consoles me, you know, that they of course are situated in their echo chambers, but we know, because reality have some objective parameters, that they cannot sustain an objective discussion about these topics without incurring into mistakes, you know. I mean, George Lucas didn't plant Obi-Wan, Vader and Anakin being different persons in the first movie. You know, this thing has always, you know, evolving with the way it goes. It's the way it goes.
I was gonna say, I had a question for you guys, like on that vein. That like I said, I've had some really successful videos that obviously brought the worst of the fan base to my pages, and just sat there and had to deal with them. And I wonder if you guys have had videos you've made where it's like, oh, here comes these dumb stuff. Because again, the video that I made that was like, it blew people's mind, and it was like, people like, you're just rage baiting. I was like, guys, the sequel trilogy is there's a lot of good in the sequel trilogy, and people were just like, every single scene, every moment is fucking shit. And I'm like, how can you say that? I'm like, how can you even believe that?
We have been doing this since 2019, and sometimes even earlier than that. And it didn't even start with a positive statement on the sequels. It starts with us just saying, this is what happened. You're wrong about that. And they get pissed off anyway and call us sequel defenders. Like, no, I don't like this. The only sequel I like is The Last Jedi. And I don't even have to defend myself in that way, but like, you have to recognize that when you say something happened in a sequel movie and it's wrong, I'm gonna correct it. It's not any indication of the quality of the movie. It's just, this is what objectively happened in the movie. And so if you correct that about your understanding of that scene, it should correct how you view the scene. But oftentimes they're stubborn.
Well, I'll just be like, Oh man, I really didn't like Rise of Skywalker, and I really hated that stupid dagger scene. And they're like, "Yeah, the dagger doesn't make any sense." And I'm like, well, no, it makes sense. It's inscribed with like specific coordinates and tells them where to go. I just don't like. No, it's the worst thing ever. How dare you defend it? And I'm like, no, I didn't. I just said I didn't like it. I understand how the parallax effect works. You can stand a mile on the beach that way and it'll still line up. Well, how is an ancient dagger like? Who told you the dagger was ancient?
And guys,
no one says that in the movie. Like,
for the love of God,
yeah.
this is a franchise where a farmer is drinking blue milk in the morning, and by the afternoon is exploding a super weapon of a galactic empire. You know, this stuff is not so serious.
Yeah.
Not only that, but there's also an element of Star Wars fandom that came out with the exact opposite message of what was like very clearly intended.
Yeah.
And so they're getting mad because like, hey, I needed this to be a power fantasy, and you're like,
Yeah.
Star Wars is about how a twink in Chanel boots conquered the galaxy with love, right?
Yeah.
Like he
Right.
literally said, I don't need power. I'm not craving the. It's the exact opposite of a power fantasy.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that's what you're describing is very, very common. But you know what? Honestly, as long as you're, you don't have to love everything. As long as you're good
Yeah.
faith about it. What's really
Yeah.
been really great about making content and about this community and Star Wars in general, Star Wars probably knows who you are. Lucasfilm probably knows, and they probably watch your videos. You know, I mean, it's gotten crazy opportunities. You know, like
Yeah.
We've canonized things.
Yeah, we've had conversations. You know, we've been in a hotel suite with you know, the Star Wars story group talking about and Star Wars explaining and stuff, talking about lore and like just talking about legends and stuff, how much they love it, and they're like, man, there's a Legends convention coming, but I think people get mad at me if I go. Like we get that you love like this is what we're doing here. This is what it's about. I love this.
Yeah.
That's why I hope it comes out that I'm not trying to like dominate or change. We just wanted to understand where you're coming from,
For sure.
and I think we got there.
Yeah. No, I was
Go
just
ahead,
gonna say.
Lagoon.
Yeah, I was.
Go and disagree.
No, because I don't disagree with that. No. Basically what I was gonna say was, for me, when it comes to Star Wars and like this type of conversation and the comments that I hate the most on the videos I make from, you know, the fan base are the fan bases or the fans who are basically like, Star Wars is mine. It should end, and it should end with me, and I don't want future generations to have it. Like for me, my thing is, if I turn 50 and they make a Star Wars project for children that I'm just like, this sucks, but the children love it, fuck me, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Let them have Star Wars. Let them enjoy it, right? That we were talking, like I said earlier, we were talking about the slight revisionism of like Luke Skywalker's character, where people are like, no, he was like the best. It's like, he wasn't the best, right? He wasn't the
He was
smartest. or
never
anything
the
like that.
best. We've
He
never
wasn't
seen
that.
him as a Jedi Knight. He
Yeah.
said it at the end of the third movie, and then that ended.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's my thing.
That's
is
my
I'm like,
favorite
you know,
scene too. He's like, so I am a Jedi.
that for me,
and Yoda's like, no.
when I had the conversation with all these people, like, you know, the videos I was making, and people were you know, arguing back about it, about Luke Skywalker, and kind of the thing that you guys were talking about, the different paths that he could take. I said, listen, I absolutely can see a Luke Skywalker who goes on to make a Jedi council, and it's successful, and it goes on for thousands of, you know, millennia or whatever it is, that in his offspring run it and whatnot, and are involved in it. But I can also absolutely understand a Luke Skywalker who says, actually, you don't have to be a Jedi, and this isn't right, or I'm not the ultimate god of anything, and you guys should
Absolutely.
just me.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
you know what?
like Lagoon is saying, this reflects Lucas, the way Lucas actually is, because this is not a guy that so trapped in one point of view. He actually cares about anthropology, psychology. His interests are beyond this stuff. He
His
doesn't know
interest
if
is
Star
a
Wars
certain point of view.
a certain point of view, precisely.
If you hate those comments,
by the way, in the
you'll hate comments that come after you've cited George Lucas, and people are like, "No, that's wrong." Like, all right, well,
he's like, when I made the movie, I made this for this specific reason. They're like, I don't think that's right. And you're like, I can't help you.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, but then at the same time, I always there is something to be said about, when people say, I can't even think which project they were even referring to. But people have told me like, oh, George Lucas hates this Star Wars project, and I was like, but just because if George Lucas hates it and I like it, that I'm still gonna be like, I like this. I'm like, just because George Lucas says it doesn't mean I'm gonna be like, okay, well, he told me not to like it. You know what I mean? Because again, even him, there could become a point where he's like, I don't even like Star Wars anymore, and I made it, and that's fine. Like I said, same thing as me.
he didn't
If I
want to
don't
put
like
it
Star
in
Wars
his
anymore,
museum.
Yeah, like, cool.
yeah.
Cool.
The other thing is, when people say that, don't listen to them, because I mean, they're lying. The other thing is, as one of the things that kind of made at least me the way I am, and I think I can speak for Element as well, as we also are really big into like, we should check sources on things and stay up to date on things as they're coming out. So like Force Awakens comes out, then I get the visual dictionary or the making of or whatever
Novelization.
But not the novelization, but it's like what's it called? Art of, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And they describe stuff like, okay, this is how we met to decide what was going to happen, and this is like, they talk about all this stuff. Then the next day, everyone's like, oh, there was no plan, no one had any idea. And you're like, no, they did, and I know that because it's here. Like, we found this out. You didn't pay attention, but we've known this for forever. And then there's also a big thing where a lot of stuff from Legends gets cited. None of those people have read anything from Legends. I promise you, like, oh no, Luke made his own Jedi school and like everything was. And he was like, no, that's not what happened. First of all, he started out by not trying to have a centralized council, and it became problematic because you had random Jedi enforcing random stuff all over the place. And he's like, yeah, this is probably a bad idea. Like, all of the bad things, but he let people have attachments. It's like, no, he didn't care if people had families. And then the galaxy was torn apart because of Jason and his daughter. Like, that, the same exact thing happened again. Nah, Palpatine came back again, and Luke decided to serve him. Like, these are all stuff that happened. Now, Luke
and Lucas validated that actually for The Force Awakens, if I am not mistaken. For Rise of Skywalker, J.J. Abrams. It was said at some point that he talked with Lucas and presented the idea of a Palpatine returning, and actually I think it's a great idea. This is probably will be my last big point that I want to make, but I hate when people says, which
we'll
is
be wrapping
the common
soon.
take. Is the common take that the sequels are not what Lucas vision. And I would disagree with that wholeheartedly, because if you read the treatment, the ideas he presented in the Star Wars Archives book, in essence, is the same. Is the idea of the Empire coming back, the Sith coming back. It's not the execution that is the same. And I felt that when I watched The Force Awakens at theaters, because the George Lucas style is, of course, characteristic. He is a visual storytelling. He is not a conventional filmmaker. I care about movies and all of that, but in the case of Star Wars, it's a special kind of thing. I would agree. I would say that the idea of bringing Palpatine actually as the main villain of the sequels is a much better idea than having Maul. But in essence, the Sith came back. Luke did recruit younglings to start his Jedi Academy, as we have seen in Mandalorian. So they have respected, in essence, the vision that Lucas had for that period. The execution is not the same, but that is something that it is expected and valid because someone else is telling that story and is focused and putting the camera from different point of views, but it's totally valid.
Yeah, I mean, I argue that the sequel trilogy that we got is the sequel to what George Lucas's treatment was, because it actually floats directly into it. And a lot of people forget that George Lucas stayed on for the first 6 months after the sale in order to work on it, and we have some of the stuff that he was trying to get in there. You know, the character became Kylo Ren. You know, they just called him Jedi Killer. That was part of what they were working on. The difference was he was turned by their Darth Talon stand-in, but that same person turned, destroyed Luke's Jedi Temple, and Luke went into exile. And Luke was going to be a hell of a lot grumpier. He was going to be like Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse Now.
Right.
And he returned to the first Jedi Temple, you know. Them returning to the Death Star wreckage, they wanted to do that. That was part of his original plan. George thought it'd be really cool to have the Millennium Falcon flying underwater and have the whole thing underwater. I'm glad they didn't do that because I think that's stupid. But it's like, oh, well, it could go in space. Therefore, you know, it's watertight. And you're like, that's true. I hate it. But whatever.
I mean, for what I wanted to say was, I mean, this is kind of what it's about, you know, like talking about Star Wars, the idea that you can have a 3-hour conversation about this. Like when we started, I was telling you about how when the videos I make about any topic, I make about any nerdy topic that's like maybe not super cool, but it is cool, right? The idea that these aren't just like, so my main pitch to people who've never heard about Star Wars, the kind of way that I explain it to like the layman or whatever, is I'll say, listen, like, you know, the feeling that you get just discussing someone about like the way that was it Avengers, the first Avenger, Captain America, and then Iron Man, and all these movies came together, and how cool that was in Endgame. I was like, that times a million, like the conversations you can have about all the reverberations and the context, and not only that, but Star Wars is based a lot on real philosophies and real world political things that have happened in history, and it's up to date. It's an older movie, like the originals are old, but they're
Do I hear
very
chickens
current.
in the background? Is that just
What I hear? I heard a chicken too, or something.
Not here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Keep going.
But yeah, no, like
It's just
but
echo cancellation.
Yeah, that's the idea. Is that Star Wars is so cool because you can discuss it, right? It's not just like, oh, it's one thing, or it's like it's nerdy, or it's like, you know, Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, like how people perceive it to be. It's like, no, this is like very real conversations that you can, like I said, there's been multiple times that we talked about, you know, like I said, EV cars or whatever, like safety precautions that and the future and how it looks, and like the minimum wage gap or whatever because of technology in Star Wars. And it's like, these are things that you can see in Star Wars, and they relate to the world, and it's like, it's cool. It's not nerdy. It's like your actual life, and it affects you. And it's like, imagine that, but in a fiction that's actually cool. And also they have swords that are made out of light, which are really fucking cool.
Yeah.
By the way, I've seen like there's this. I don't know. Hopefully, this isn't too political for y'all, but there's like a whole group that's called Leaving MAGA, and they're like are people who are like deconstruct. I swear to God, it feels like Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi when he's like, "You were right."
It turns out
the
Jedi
same-
is wrong.
Same energy.
Yeah.
Let go of your hate.
My pitch for Star Wars to someone who's never seen it is to sit them down, put it on, and say, "Don't even worry about it," and then press play.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, you know, amazing conversation. I want to thank Jay
appreciate
for
you,
coming
Nemo.
on and Batosai for calling in. We really
Thanks,
appreciate your support over the years. And Jay, welcome to the community. That we will reach out for other things to discuss as well as things come out. Maybe for Have you guys seen Project Hail Mary?
Yes.
I haven't watched it. Is it on streaming?
It is so good.
What was the show that you said, Choco, you said to watch?
Pantheon on Netflix. Oh my god. Oh yeah, please let us know when you finish it. Come back and talk about it. And if there's any nerdy stuff in particular you do want to talk about with fellow nerds, hit us up. Let us know. We love having you on.
Also, watch Project Hail Mary.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you guys for having me. I always seen the show and my fingers kind of tremble with the I want to participate in this conversation, particularly in this one because it's so fascinating to me, and Star Wars is so alive in these conversations. Like Jay Lagoon said, I judge a movie actually for the conversation that allows, not so much in time in terms of decimals, and Star Wars is so rich because of that. So thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely.
And a place soon where amazing conversation will happen is Rebel Scum Con. So check that out if you can go. Probably not this year, but next year. They do it in Texas every year. Awesome convention. A lot of really cool creators are always there. And then we will also be at Star Wars Celebration this year. So if y'all want to chill, next year, 2027. But yeah, if you make it out, y'all want to chill, hit us up, let us know. And you can get coming from Chile. We last Dyad Con we had people from 6 different countries. Yeah, you can do it. Yeah. Come on through.
I would love that.
All right, catching up with the monsters really quickly. We have Travis saying those aren't chickens; they're probe droids sent by Star Wars Theory to stick Theory Saber ads into the middle of your stream. Nice. Dex and Download says, "I'll go on a tirade on how Sidious is the worst Sith Lord ever. Like, even for Sith, he didn't do anything to help the Sith, only himself. I mean, that's very Sith of him."
Earlier, Dexon said, I have a Star Wars story about Darksiders who aren't evil. They just want to be left alone. That's the Acolyte. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. That's literally the plot. Is like, and the Jedi are like, leave them alone.
And that's why
and then Saul's like, I cannot.
Because, like, okay, really quickly. Season 1 was like a critique on the Jedi as an institution, but also like giving us like the surface level experience of a Darksider who is coming from a very genuine place but is still very misguided. And a season 2 would have given us a show about Darksiders without the Jedi, because we've had so much material in canon dealing with the Jedi. I feel like we need one. And even Maul had 2 Jedi in there. So it's like, I want like a season of this where it's just like the Stranger and Osha, and possibly thinking about how Plagueis has been involved in all of this, but it's just their echo chamber, and we're just seeing all of the consumption and the corruption, and we get to experience that immersion of like, yeah, I mean, this is you really can't escape this, without, support from the outside. Let's see. KG says Pupper is barking at the chicken probes. I judge my Star Wars on how many times a dying mother says peace out. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out this long. Again, thank you to Jay and Batosai. Do you guys have any final thoughts or anything you want to plug? Let people know where they can find you on your socials. Now would be the time to do so.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me mostly on TikTok. It's Jay Lagoon. You can find me on YouTube, Jay Lagoon, Instagram, Jay Lagoon. I stream sometimes, nothing crazy. Like I said, I just video games sometimes that I play, like Black Flag or something like that. Always comedy skits or something like that. Still kind of new to it. I guess I'm starting to grow a following now, but yeah, just come by and say what's up.
In my case, I am not too much online. I mean, I was during the Raylo Wars, when TLJ was on the air. I fought with the Raylos. but not anymore. I have always wanted to open a YouTube channel. I am into Star Wars board gaming. I like that kind of stuff and anime and all of that, but not so much now. So no.
I mean, listen, if there's any inkling or desire to, would love to see it, As I tell most people who kind of dabble in or want to start, like the best thing to do is to just start, right?
Yeah.
If you saddle yourself with what do I have to share? Is my voice worthy enough? Or is what I have to share any different or unique from what has been out there? Then you start to just convince yourself to not do anything. But
for sure.
But if the desire is there, just do it. Don't worry about what other people are doing, what other people are talking about. It's your voice that's unique, and it's your perspective that's unique. So do it. And like Choco said, some people might be watching you.
Yeah,
Star Wars might get to know you.
Thanks for those words. I know one thing though. Is the one question that keeps waking me at 3 a.m. sometimes. My first video would be, was the blockade of the Trade Federation legal in the Phantom Menace? That would be my first video discussion.
I will make it legal.
Just to add to what he was saying, I mean, like I said, I'm in a different kind of era than them. It's kind of just starting for me, which is really cool. I've been making videos just not too long, but it's really, really cool, and it's really weird to see, you just make a video, just talking, just having fun and being genuine. I mean, that's the big thing. People always say just be yourself, but literally share your own actual opinions that you actually believe, and then people will comment back to you, and then you'll be like, oh, that was interesting. You comment back to them, somebody will make a video. This is the first podcast I've ever been on, by the way. I appreciate you guys inviting me here, but
for sure.
I'm just a dude who makes videos. Again, I do get paid from it now, which is really weird in my head, that I'm just making video, I'm just talking, right? But it's not serious, but then it is serious, and it's fun, and it's cool, and it's now it becomes a social thing where it's oh, that's a lot of followers, but it's not about that. It's just the fun conversation. Appreciate just talking to people, because that's the idea, that this right here is the crazy part. Is I'm just a dude. There's not a lot of people I can talk to about Star Wars. I've never done something like this. I had a 3-hour conversation about Star Wars, but it's look at this. This is how the internet works. All of a sudden, I make a couple videos and I can have this really cool conversation with you guys.
That's the power of the Force.
Well, and I swear to God, we were just one day we were talking about the High Republic. We were talking about it was Phase 1, and then there was a guy was in our comments. We asked hey, how would you see the Force? And they answered and all this stuff. And he's one of our best friends. He's probably going to be moving out here, moving in with Pep. Our other friend. Who in the community just I don't know. Pep saw her make a couple videos, still very small follow, but it just becomes a big thing. She flew to the UK last week and hung out with someone else she met through making content online. And one of the things I appreciate about TikTok specifically is there's just less of a distance between the creator and the audience, and so when you meet us in real life, this is how we are.
This is us.
I'll probably be quieter, but it's I don't know. It's real. It's a real community.
Let me ask. Okay. Let me ask Jay and Batosai, how tall are you guys?
I'm 6 foot.
Damn.
We use another different the metric system. I mean,
are you around 180, 190 centimeters?
I am 1.73 centimeters. That's, I don't know, five and a half foot, I think, something like that. We're shorter.
5'7".
We're shorter.
Yeah. The first time I met Choco, I was like, this guy's gonna fucking kill me. No, he's a beast. Shout out to Darth Angel in the chat, in the TikTok side. JC Right Dad, always appreciate you guys filling it up with likes. We'll see you guys next week for the next episode of Dyad in the Force. And that's it. On to the next one.
For Light and for Life.
We are all the Force.
And watch Pantheon. It's great. Anyone who hasn't seen it.
I'm going to get on that.